reason why you grab for this thought of that memory or this personality trait. Because you're reacting to something. You want to do something. That is exactly moving away from the now into whatever it is you wanted to do. That's why, they try so hard to meditate. There is some truth to, like, the reality of the human experience devoid of all of our descriptions and definitions about it.
Yeah, words are the problem. I mean, but they're also, they're now. The now is just, it's like the super moment where if you're aware of it, it's a blissful state of existence in a way. I mean, I think you can hypnotize yourself and put yourself into a trance or a flow state in the now, and it can have therapeutic, medicinal value.
Edmund,
the everlasting wow
just
is
one question
happening
quickly.
now.
Just one question quickly. Have you read The Power of Now, Edmund?
I just did right now. Yes, I've read it.
Okay, is it related to what you're saying? Because I have the book.
Yes, it is. Eckhart totally goes deep into it. Yep.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead, Mesa.
Oh, I was, I got distracted by something else I was reading. In terms of the now, the reality is, like, within you. But here was the alternate theory that I wanted to float out. Here it was. Humans are a life form. Life forms are a type of matter. Matter just exists and is fine to be broken or destroyed. Life perpetuates its own structure, continues it for whatever reason. But it is still part of the universe. It's not really distinct from the matter. It's just a type of matter that replicates itself for a time, and then it ends and replicates a different version of matter that it picked up. I was toying around with the idea, because it's a common scientific question as to why humans sleep so much. And, like, animals don't. Animals sleep significantly less. And I was wondering if part of a proper contextual framework to consider, like, life forms and consciousness and being and the true existence, what if sleep is the actual state that the animal desires? And that awareness is simply a defensive measure, like when it needs stuff done. So the true state of the animal is in fact a state of sleep. And the reason humans sleep more is because we have comforted ourselves to attain a true state of Zen bliss. We are meditating more by sleeping.
Yeah, you could say that, have you ever woke up and felt very refreshed? Like you pass a bowel movement, and you say, wow, I feel amazing. Meaning
that's when your body is doing everything.
Exactly. But what's interesting is you're rotating, but you're also remaining very, very still. So it is like a state of deep meditation, and your body seems to do repair when you're in an extreme state of no motion. It's very, like, you're right. I mean, it is a little bit like saying, am I dreaming of a butterfly, or am I a butterfly dreaming I'm a man? I mean, and then the other thing about sleep is it's like the seventh day. You took, every day you rest. So it's like the Shabbos every day.
Oh my God, this is very deep.
The point is, now backwards spells one, which is like O-N-E.
Humans have a lot more data to, like, process and store long term. That's why they sleep more.
Did you hear what I said about the word now? Backwards, it spells one. Like you're winning, but you're also one with the universe, or one with Hashem Ribbono
No, I don't spell one backwards.
I know, but as Mixed was saying earlier, philosophers play with words and make up words and understandings.
Wait, but Mixed, what?
Mixed is not here.
Oh, okay. Shows. Oh, okay.
Just now. Just now.
He is one with the now.
Okay, it still shows that he's in.
I don't know where he left.
That would be such a funny. Like, I wanted to ask him who actually debates whether concepts exist. Like, that's literally a self-refuting position. It's impossible. You can't have that view.
What are you talking about? People debate whether or not concepts exist. That's primarily what people are talking about all the time.
No, I mean, no. People talk about what that concept is itself, not the word. Like, do concepts themselves exist?
No, I mean, is the concept we're discussing, is it real or is it just a concept?
Yeah, that's a separate thing. I'm saying, like, to have a position, does the concept of a concept exist or not?
I get
That
it.
would be a self-refuting position.
Got it. We understand.
Because you have to hold a concept. It means you have to hold the concept of a concept in your mind.
Yeah, but holding something in your mind doesn't necessarily add evidence to its existence.
No, I'm saying.
Right, like
that's the entire.
Simon,
That's what a concept is.
I hold the concept of a unicorn in my mind. That does not mean unicorns exist, correct?
Yeah, of course.
Right. So I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Wait. I thought you meant.
Do it this way. If I say that I have a concept in my head that concepts are not real, to some degree, I'm also saying the things I have in my head are not real when I use that word.
Okay, but that's different than what I'm saying. I thought you meant like
Again,
the actual
and I'm just elaborating
concept. Okay, yeah, no. I might have misunderstood. That's why I just clarifying what I meant. I thought you said people debate whether or not a concept, like the actual concept of a concept, exists or not.
No, they debate the reality of concepts.
Okay, yeah. That's totally fine. Okay. I thought that's why I said it's self-refuting. You can't say I have the idea of a concept
I understand
in my mind.
No one has ever thought they weren't there.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, I mean, is it too much of a stretch to think that the word now equals God?
It's not that crazy. Like I said, ekya asher ekya. It's basically best translated as is.
But when Hashem says,
It is what it is.
That's
There's
why
also like this
I am.
alpha and omega thing. Like,
It's ekya, which literally means I, future tense. Hia, will be. Asher, that. Future tense singular. Hia, will be. I will be, that I will be. It's a nonsense statement that only produces the word that is a little bit forbidden in Judaism. Is.
Asher, what were you going to say about Alpha and Omega?
yeah, that it's like everything from the beginning to the end. Like it's a span. It's like an infinite span as well, which seems to be the opposite of a singularity, like a single.
But the beginning all the way to the end implies the now, in my opinion.
Yeah, right. Like, think of the way that physicists try to describe time as a dimension. They say that you could, like, slice it up, and that if you were outside of that dimension, you would see the entirety. So, if there is an entirety, and that it's just an illusion of us to delineate between past and future, and it's all just there, and we're seeing it one fraction at a time, then, yeah, that's just outside of time. That's is. That's eternal is. That's because all of is exactly existence, and it's just right there. We only see parts and pieces of it. Is.
So what is the practical application of this newfound wisdom?
I don't know. I mean, like, if you contextualize it into your notion of God, of the creator of all things being synonymous with the identity of the true now, right? And then you add in all the other things that the theologists say, like it's always you can always approach it but never quite get it. It's always misunderstood. And then, like, you can see how some of that commentary actually applies to the present tense and more, like all of reality, not just time. But yeah, you connect the concepts and then you see how well it plugs into the other formula.
Isn't it a little bit like the Yiddish saying "Alles ist Gott"? Isn't that saying God is now as well?
I don't know Yiddish, but could be God is now. I don't know what that means.
I mean, it means all is God. Everything is God. You are God. This pen is God. This cell phone is God. All atoms are God.
Yeah, well, I mean,
The lady
what's
that just talked at me,
right?
praise God.
What is consciousness? And they say that like a table could have consciousness, but you need a person maybe to give it its consciousness or something.
How does
consciousness.
a person give a table?
We only talk about consciousness
You gotta come up.
for animals.
consciousness is the faculty of being aware of reality.
Then why do you only apply it to humans and animals?
Because how else would anything else
What about grass?
perceive reality?
What about grass?
How does grass perceive reality?
I heard that it screams when you cut it.
Or like a sunflower, right? Like it turns.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
But how would a sunflower perceive reality?
I
I mean, robots.
That Harpel, I think.
Robots don't perceive reality.
Who always tries to debate the existence of God. The critique he has specifically is consciousness. And I personally think that consciousness is mostly an anthropomorphic term. We're talking about a human experience and things that are close to it, just like the animals. Like you could plug consciousness into any of the senses of humans and you'd find them in the animals. It's the same. I think that what the philosophers are talking about more when they talk about the prime mover is they're talking more about knowledge. Whether a thing would know all of the things that it designed, or if it was an unknowing designer of all of the things. Knowledge is different from consciousness. And consciousness is
You're talking about Harpo, correct?
Yeah, I think so.
But again, there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom.
Can I?
Yeah, but I was wisdom would be knowledge and wisdom could refer to the same thing. It would depend on how your definitions divide up the abstract spaces of words we use to define things you know, understood, understanding, insight, intuition. These are all different words, and wherever you want to slice them up is based on your language.
So, like, as a practical application, if I look at my hard drive and I see all the photos that have been recorded, like, those are observations of reality that are stored. Like, would you call that knowledge?
You can still only experience those now.
No, that would be the equivalent of a library. A library has records of tremendous ideas, but the library actually contains no ideas itself.
Yeah, okay.
Your photos are records of experiences you had and could have seen, but instead you had like a camera, and the camera took a record of what you were seeing at that time, or some approximation. And then you have records of it. And you could change it too, as evidenced by, Adobe.
The point is, there's no timeline. So a lot of history revisionists or people who argue history here nonstop, in my opinion, what they're technically doing is just hypnosis, because there's only the now. There is no past, there is no future, there is no now.
I think there
I
is.
would say what he just described would be knowledge. I mean, just looking
No.
out into reality.
No. If it never started, then it never stopped. So if there's no, like I don't know.
I'm saying you can say there is only now, and then you can immediately say there is no now. So what I'm saying is people who do these history lessons about the Palestinian-Israeli Gaza conflict going from 1920 to 2025, they're really just doing hypnosis on here. They're not in the now. They're not being pragmatic. They're not actually improving their life, improving the world. They're just doing basically a recording from their memory, but it's still not as pragmatic as the now, if that makes any sense.
Well, I disagree with you a little bit. Like, the reason they're producing it, I agree with you, is to distance away from the now. They are rebelling against the now, resisting the now. But the reason they're talking about the history so much is because that's what's in debate. They want the historical record updated. And they're fueling the aggression with that call for revisionist history. Everyone that agrees or hears the wisdom of the revisionist narrative then is activated, whether politically or physically, actually engaging in the conflict. That's why they continue to do it.
To affect the now.
Exactly. They're trying to change your context of now. Your context of now is that Israel started 70 years ago. It was some kind of a solution for old people back then. But their solution to the now is to undo that mistake.
So I guess the question is, if you wanted to actually change the now as opposed to just talk about changing the now, and you wanted to practically apply this concept to process improvement or outcome improvement, I get the feeling that meditation is like the easiest and best way to affect the now, in meaning that it's almost like another hypnosis, but it's a more subversive hypnosis because you're not actually doing the history revisionism and trying to affect people's impression of the now. What you're really doing in a way is sort of hypnotizing them to basically distract them from the
So-
now in a subversive way, if that makes any sense.
Meditation would be a self-hypnosis so that you can affect your now and not allowing external circumstances to dictate your now.
No, I'm saying if you wanted somebody to believe in your vision of Palestine, I think the most effective way to do that would be, we're going to teach a course on meditation and how to create change in the Middle East. Like, that would be a way to subversively get past the historical component.
You're right, that would be good therapy and would be useful in their goals, but that would not be the end of it. Like, if they just sat, meditated, they'd wake up and still dislike the state of affairs. What they would really need to do is, like you're saying, construct it into pragmatic ends. And frustratingly, the most pragmatic end, when in their situation, is to publish. They need to draft a formal state. And they need to open up relation. They need to, like, develop in political science. But they're so busy resisting that that's where their energy goes. Like, look at all the money that went into tunnels. Tunnels! Could have been skyscrapers, apartment buildings, office centers. They could have had a downtown. Instead, tunnels. That's where the fuel goes. Listen, there are competing narratives. The Israeli narrative is, things are fine, we can live peacefully, let's get together and make great states. The Palestinian narrative is, that's an awful state, probably all states are terrible, the Islamic states are bad, the Western states are bad, we have to end all states, they're very, very bad, let's just fight. And you can do either one of those with your energy, but you can't do both.
Well, then I think that's where the wisdom and knowledge component comes in. Without the wisdom and the knowledge and the meditation, you will just end up fighting.
Right. No. I agree with you for the therapy. Whatever kind of a therapeutic thing for them to be processing their literal, very clear emotional energy that could accomplish tremendous feats. They are processing that in an unhealthy, counterproductive, destructive way. So, like, yeah, whether it's therapy, ayahuasca, you want to bonk them all in the head one time, I don't care. They need to stop destroying the world.
So, I mean, if you have the wisdom of Israel or the knowledge of Israel, I mean, you're no longer fighting. You're in a state of peace because you recognize that eternal division or that eternal conflict or internal conflict. It's really about mindfulness.
We can also use another example so that we don't deviate again into the Middle East, but just stay in the now. How about that?
Yeah, in the now.
What is time, Edmund? What is time?
Time is arbitrary and relative. It's a concept. It's amazing how, see, we use words to navigate and to organize and to schedule. I mean, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday through Sunday, like, what the fuck do those words even mean? I mean, Monday is the moon day. You know, they're related to the planets. So, I mean, time is really, it's a meaningless word unless there's some type of application.
No, exactly. It has an application. It gives you a reference to be able to interact with other individuals, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to understand context of thoughts or context of intentions or actions of any of this. So yeah, time has got a use.
Yeah, I mean, I use it in my food.
We all use time.
Mm-hmm.
I sprinkle time a little bit on my food as well.
Interesting fact.
Time is on my side.
We
You
have
can never have enough time.
I prefer oregano.
the places. One of the things that is very pernicious and almost impossible to change and update is our sense of time. The calendar, we are still using time based on the ancient Babylonians and the ancient Egyptians. They figured out how to measure hours, the Egyptians, and the Babylonians mastered most of the calendar with their 360-degree perfect circle, although there were a few extra days that they didn't make up for.
There's I mean, in the most, like, physically motivated sense, time is always, you can never measure, like, a point in time, you always measure an interval. So it's always, like, it's time relative to, like, a starting and ending point, and that's the span with which like, observations are made.
Are you guys
So,
saying time doesn't exist?
Maybe.
Well, time doesn't exist outside of consciousness. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I don't think it exists.
Here's one.
Especially not in a linear way.
If time
Well, but
exists,
you can
how-
watch
maybe we didn't say that.
a short-lived organism like an insect or various types of plants or mushrooms. You know, like chicory, for example, the flower blooms at 8 a.m. and then it dries up and drops off by like 1 p.m. You know, the butterfly, whatever species of butterfly, it only lives for 1 day.
Yeah, but you're just you're making use of a tool of measuring, which is time, to be able to understand a process or to measure a process. But time itself does not exist. Just like the number 1 or the number 5 or the number 8 don't exist. We just use it to communicate and use it to make sense of what is surrounding us.
Well, that's like saying trees don't exist, but we have a word tree.
No. Trees
No, the
exist.
concept. No, the tree is a concept.
Trees exist. Whether you're looking at it or not, it doesn't require. Hold on.
How is that different from
doesn't
one?
require from an agent to look at it for it to exist. Time requires us to make it up, so that we can use it as a tool to understand our surroundings.
Well, but if a butterfly...
One is a unit. Yeah, well, the concept of one refers to a unit in reality that you wanna count, essentially. So like one doesn't exist. The amount of units that you're trying to organize in your mind does exist, because I mean that's what you're counting one as. But that's not the same as saying there's a tree out in existence. The one is a representation of the unit.
One is
and
the
the amount of trees.
loneliest number that could ever be.
Well, however you wanna.
There's, however, like time dilation is a thing that you can observe, and you can see how clocks actually go out of sync if you put them on spaceships and fly them around and bring them back to Earth. So there is something happening that is at least related to the age of things that is observable. It's not just in people's minds, right?
But does that prove that time exists, or actually that time doesn't exist because things get unsynchronized? So time is very relative.
Yeah, that's why I was saying that to physicists, it's a span. It's an observable span or an interval, and it's not a single. Like you can't look at it as like a single point, like a fixed point of reference.
I think it's time for me to get some coffee.
What?
I said it's time for me to get some coffee now.
Now. Yeah, so the device that we have created to register or record time does not work in all contexts. So is our device faulty, or is time faulty, or is the context faulty? So what is really time? Because if time is really universal, it should pass in the exact same amount or speed or whatever, whether you are out in the universe or you're here on Earth, or you're traveling at the speed of light on a spaceship, but it isn't. So what is time? Time does not exist, not as a universal law. We use it, I think, to make sense of our environment.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Simon, what the hell?
So,
Yes,
this woman, a 39-year-old woman, I don't even know if I should tell you. I just want to tell something.
I mean, is she even considered a woman at that point?
A 39-year-old woman killed her 14-year-old son, but the newspaper is refusing to acknowledge that the people are related, even though they have the same last name and they were living in the same house. And the woman is 39 and the boy that she killed is 14. And her name is like Mrs. McDonald and his name is Quincy McDonald. Do you think that Quincy McDonald was her son, or no? Am I just crazy?
What?
I just heard Miss Quincy McDonald and son.
I told you I probably shouldn't have mentioned it. Should have just kept it.
That's
myself.
okay. We got over the hump.
Yeah, we got there.
Yeah.
The question about time that I was going to say is, if a butterfly lives and dies in the span of a single day, does it experience the passage of time?
Yeah, totally.
There you go. I proved it.
So Dr. Jordan Gruber is in the audience. He is a microdosing, publisher, and so I'm wondering, how does microdosing impact the now?
What?
I asked, how does microdosing shrooms or cannabis
Black and cheap.
impact the now?
He asked about microdosing.
Who are you asking?
He said, what's the Jordan Gruber in the audience?
Mr. Gruber, your X handle is not working. Jordan Gruber. Unless maybe he blocked me, it's possible.
I love the fact that this guy owns the domain enlightenment.com. That is so base.
I just want to say, some of us are black or half black.
Speak for yourself.
Fair enough.
If you were asking us a question, that's
Asking.
Well, you know what? To be fair,
If he was asking a question.
Yeah, to be honest, I am considered.
Sounds like you want to ask a question about
William
Simon.
Jordan Gruber. Let's be respectful, please.
Yeah, Gruber.
Jordan
I'm
Gruber.
sure, but you're barely black.
Whoa.
I mean, my father would disagree.
Asher, did you vote for Joe Biden?
That's what your father says. He says you're barely black.
If you didn't vote for
Didn't vote for
Joe Biden,
Biden.
you're not black.
Interestingly enough, my father might be one of the only black Republicans that I know.
Oh,
Oh, so he's a
sorry.
he's a C word UT.
But he didn't vote for, I assume, I don't know for sure.
Sorry, you can't be black.
I took him to the polling station.
It's in the black bylaw. You can be Republican.
But yeah, all my Democrat friends are like, your father's black? What do you mean he's a Republican?
But he's black. But blacks no
But
Democrat.
your mom, where's your mom from, Asher?
Wait, I'm sorry. It's your
Oh,
father.
where's your mom from?
She's from Hong Kong.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, wow.
That's fucking sick. Tell your place.
Shit, I mean, your kids, that's amazing because, so his dad is black, hold on, his dad is black, his mom is
Basically
Asian,
type.
and now he married a German, so imagine the kids is just such an amazing mix.
Well, she's half German, half Russian. So.
Holy fuck, and the plot thickens.
German,
These kids
Russian,
are going to
Asian.
be very confused.
World peace, they exist in Asher's life.
But no, my mother is like old school Chinese, so her parents fled like during the communist revolution.
Oh,
Well, I mean, if she's from Hong Kong, yeah, for sure.
whatever.
50s.
Yeah, they hadn't gotten that. So like their side fled from the communists, and then my wife's side also fled from.
Oh,
So people from Hong Kong are so based.
That is
I
a
love
really
that.
cool mix, actually. I had no clue that you were half Asian. So you're like Jimmy then, because Jimmy is a Haitian black guy who married an Asian.
I prefer to think of him as like Tiger Woods, but you know, teach his own.
Why did Tiger Woods meet a? Did he marry a?
He's
Asian
Blasian.
woman?
No, he's half.
Oh,
He himself is Blasian,
He's Blasian.
and
Oh,
I
shit.
think he'd marry a blonde German-looking lady, but I don't know.
Yeah, but then he cheated on her, I think.
Yeah, a bunch of times, totally.
Wait, I want to hear from Jordan Gruber now.
Did you call it Blasian?
Yes.
Yeah,
Blasian.
Black and Asian? Is that a thing?
That's
Yes.
Blasian.
Huh.
Also, do you know the correct
And not racist at all.
the correct term for someone from the Bahamas is Bayesian? Yeah, it is. Ask them.
What about Bahamanian?
I thought the Bohemian.
No, that would be Bohemian, and that's from Bohemia.
I thought they were Bahamian.
Destroyed.
Did you say Bayesian?
Bahamanian.
Bohemian is a person from Bohemia.
What would the
I'm
Barbadation. He's Barbadation.
But yeah, you missed it. I made Randy rage quit. Very.
Look, Caleb is Cajun.
Are you kidding? Because it's supposed to be
I can see that. I can hear him getting frustrated in the conversation.
Holy fuck.
No, people from the Bahamas are Bajans.
They're Bayesian.
I think it's only happened like literally like 2 times.
They're not Bahamanians.
Take it as a.
They're
What is that with pride? Fine.
Go ahead.
I'm wearing it.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
Bajan.
Yeah, I told Randy that you were very happy that you were able to make him quit. Now that you believe that you won.
I mean, I don't believe I won. I
It
believe I
doesn't
won.
matter. I was just trying to trigger him. It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. I'm just telling you what I told him.
It's the Barbados. They're the Bajans.
And what did he say? Is he triggered?
He said, he's not. Wait, let me read what he said.
I don't give a fuck. He's ass.
You don't give a
He
fuck.
said, I said, Randy, did you just rage quit? I said, yeah, it's very boring. I'd rather listen to a podcast. There's no point because he only hears what he wants to hear and he represents my position all the time. And nobody got time for that. I'm like, he was asking your questions. And he's like, no, he was making statements. I'm old enough to know the difference. I said, now he thinks he upset you and he can't believe he won. And I put a crying smiley face. And he said, no, I'm not upset. And then I said, Magzed and Edmund are here. Come back. He said, I just don't have the time for this. Magzed is retarded. Edmund is a waste of time. Whatever. This is his rage talking.
No, but I'm sorry though. Like I'm not misrepresenting what he said. He said exactly what I said he said, and then because I said.
You said that he said what he said when you said it?
Zach,
him.
wait. Have you ever seen that musical? What was it? It was
Guys and Dolls.
based on the guy that wrote Rent, and it was a one-man show. You see this?
No. Based on the guy that wrote Rent?
Look this up. Andrew Garfield does a duet with Vanessa Hudgens, and the entire thing is
Wait, Spider-Man?
Yes, Andrew Garfield. He does. It's like a Broadway rendition of a couple arguing. It's very, very good. It goes like, I don't remember, but the conceit of it is that they're both functioning as like puppets, and they dance as puppets with smiles on their face as they're singing the sort of endless loops arguments get into. It's very fun. You'd like the
I'm
song.
gonna look it up. Tick, tick, boom.
Tick, tick, boom. Thank you. Oh my
I'm gonna look it
god.
up.
I kept thinking incredibly loud and close or whatever, but extremely loud and incredibly close, but no, it's not that one.
Anyway, I think that there was no need for Randy to rage quit. It was being a good conversation.
He was upset because Simon pointed out he was dumb on what issue?
No, we were just talking about what we were talking about. It was just the three of us.
Okay, basically, I asked him to demonstrate why my position is wrong when stating that something about meta-ethics. And then he goes, well, I reject your premise entirely because I believe in the afterlife. I said, okay, so if you reject my premise, then what evidence is there of an afterlife? Okay. And then he went on like this whole thing, like he goes, well, it's not up to me to disprove, it's not up to me to prove that there's an afterlife, it's up to you.
Actually,
I said, but you're making a positive claim. So if you're making that claim and I'm not, then you have to prove that.
Right.
And then he goes, well, my position is the default position because it goes all the way back to Egyptians, to Roman era, to Greece,
Oh yeah,
all
and
these things.
they have been
And I said,
for a
that's a
long
logical
time.
fallacy.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, thank you.
That was the
So I didn't misrepresent. So I didn't represent because you just said that's a logical fallacy. And I said it's a logical fallacy. And then he asked me, well, name the logical fallacy. I said, okay, well, I know it's a logical fallacy, but I don't know exactly the name of it. And then I looked it up, and it's called the appeal to tradition
oh,
fallacy.
there you go, perfect.
And then after that he rage quit, and that was it.
That's funny. Yeah, it sounds like you made him sound stupid.
Yeah. So I mean,
well, you know that guy's got a fragile ego to check. What can he do?
No, but it was also that he made a claim, and I listened to him making a claim. But he said, "Oh, but people have believed this since forever." And then Simon said, "Yeah, but truth is not defined by a consensus of people, nor by the fact that a lot of people have believed it forever."
Easy disproof.
Exactly. And so that was, and so it's like, "Oh, I never said that." He's like, "Yeah, you just said that people have believed this since forever." Because then Simon brought the word consensus, right? It's like, I never talked about consensus. I never said that. Yeah, you just said that people have believed this since forever, and that doesn't matter.
Right. But I'm not. But just remember, I'm not paying attention to what he's saying.
That's a good approach, I would say.
And that is when he started saying that Simon was putting words in his mouth, and he was not asking questions, but he was making statements that he never did.
Right.
It was just like a...
A similar thing happened to me with, I think it was Himothy. At some point, he accidentally shifted the burden of proof back to him, because the best defense really is straight up that they don't have to say...
With Randy?
No. This was Himothy, a different guy from the atheist groups. But I'm saying that the best tool in an atheist toolbox is, I don't gotta say shit. Leave me alone. Shut up. I don't gotta prove anything. I don't have to accept any of your evidence as compelling. I say nothing. I see nothing. I hear nothing. I am protected. If they ever accidentally make the mistake of saying that the evidence actually leads to their conclusion, they've shifted the burden and now they have to prove their point. And they never do that. That's when they'll break away.
That's right.
So it was the same thing here. He tried to trump you with a conceit that he feels is so obviously true he doesn't even want to debate it, so it should settle the issue. But you pointed out that he has flawed reasoning. He didn't actually really think through the logic of how to prove there's an afterlife, of which he can't really prove.
Obviously. Yeah, that's it. And I just asked him, this is like the logic, right? So...
Yeah, the best you'll ever have for an afterlife is testimony from people that came back.
And that actually happened to me. I actually did die, and I came back. And I didn't see shit.
In that case, you can throw weight on him, because he only has their testimonies. You have your own experience. You can say, I died and came back. There's nothing there.
That's right. It was black.
You've got the trump card. Sounds like Randy can't debate the afterlife with you.
That's right.
You just have a higher form of evidence. You have first-hand account. He only has second.
That's right.
You actually could say that, right? I died and I came back.
Yeah,
who's going to disprove you? I am the proof. I am the evidence.
I can't even imagine how many, if it was, how many Christians would have gone through the same experience. I saw God, and then there was a light, and then he told me to act in accordance to the Bible, and now I'm a full Christian.
But that is everything. That is Jews, that is Christians, that is Muslims. The miracles is across religion.
There are a lot of people that report after having near-death experiences. They do have weird kind of invigoration with life, similar to how some people describe going on DHT, I think, or DMT. I forget which one is the one.
DMT.
DMT. And it seems to be like an attachment to the oneness of everything, which could also be an attachment to the nothingness of everything, right? If you lean more nihilistic, those could be the same basic experience, that as in the way that your mind would contextualize it as you're living, right? If you come back, you might say, that was all nothingness, or you might say, I was one with the infinite. Those might be in the same thing.
They are the same thing.
Well, there you go.
In the mystical traditions, those things are the same.
You and your Ein Sof, get out of here.
Yeah, come on, get on this train.
Let me ask you this, Rabbi. If it's Ein Sof, how did you label it? When's it Ein Sof and when's it Sof?
Well, that's the whole thing. The Ramban says that Ein Sof is not really nothingness. It's just the thinnest kind of material existence that there is. but it's imperceptible.
You're telling me that the rabbis take the philosophical question on whether or not nothingness exists, and they say, no, it can't, but it's really, really small, and we're going to call it nothing.
That's correct.
That's hilarious. Such a rabbi answer.
Exactly. It's a beautiful rabbi answer.
It is, because it really just splits the difference. The whole problem is you can't conceive of true nothing. Every attempt is a failure. So they're just saying, nope, isn't there, nothing. But if it's really, really, really small, you might as well call it nothing. Like, you got nothing better to do.
Well, but it's not nothing as in the sense of
Small void. I understand.
no, it's not nothing in the sense of void. It's nothing in the sense of no thing, as opposed to something. Right?
What does that mean to you in contrast to void?
Well, void is empty. Nothingness is just undifferentiated stuff.
Okay, so you would say that there is stuff in the nothing?
Oh, yeah.
And you would say, okay, so you would characterize nothing as more chaos.
Unformed primordial spiritual essence.
Oh, I see. So you say under a Kabbalistic reasoning, the Ein Sof is almost compatible with Plato's notion of hillic matter, meaning unformed matter, which is obviously impossible to our minds, but theoretically we can divide the concepts, and his idea was matter was always there, but it didn't have a form, whatever the hell that means.
Yes, it's very similar to that.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's not the craziest way to tie off the idea of nothing.
But how can something come from nothing, and how can words create something from nothing?
Not really nothing. If you push them to say that it's actually nothing, they'll say it's actually something down there. We're just calling it nothing.
So in the word Ein Sof, like the word I is there. So what is the word EYE, and why is the symbolism of the all-seeing eye so prevalent, or so, what?
Colin, I do debt management, and one of the debtors is called Ein Ode Capital, and everyone calls him Enon, because like on the emails it's ENOD, their website is enod.com, and I'm like one of the few people that acknowledges that it's two words.
That's very funny that would be that Ein Ode.
I know.
They're indebted, they don't have any more.
They are 100% winking. They're going like,
That's
no,
very funny.
It's funny. Jews are funny.
Mixed, how much of your work is like accounting or tracking as opposed to just submission and form filing?
I don't file the forms. The litigation department does that. I handle the negotiations. I talk with people and tell them to not expect so much money from their pieces of paper.
So why is the now so difficult to grasp? I mean, it's such an easy word, but why is it so complicated?
Because that's not why our consciousness is here. Our consciousness isn't here for the now. You want perfect now, go to sleep. The consciousness is here for the past and the future, and to do all the crazy, cool, abstract coordination, and for some reason take us to the moon. That's what we do. Like, you want the true, like, conscious state of the animal, I think you probably want sleep.
It's because now doesn't last very long. Right? Now is both the...
No. Understand it. The now is very, very, very important. It's the only thing that the body cares about. But
right.
You don't need to give a shit about it. Because you're not the body. You're the abstract planner that's there to take care of the body, while the body experiences the now. They're totally in bliss. Look at that. Air conditioning, refrigerators, electricity. You got everything. Your body's fine. Even your mind is starting to...
Okay, but 1 second there, hold on there. Because you're saying that now, so the body is enjoying the now through an air conditioner. But if there had been no past, that air conditioner
created you, the mind, because it wanted the air conditioner.
No, but there is the air conditioner, the structure of the air conditioner is a proof of the past.
Yeah, it's proof of the inherent nature of the universe that is true at all times, right?
Because it just didn't appear there. It
Right,
required.
yeah. Let me put it this way. He said, if the air conditioning ability was only true in the past and only true in the future, it would be completely worthless to us. It is only valuable because it is eternally true. It is a true of the now. Right? That's what an invention is. An invention isn't like saying, oh, this worked in the past. It's saying the universe works.
No,
like
I am not saying that.
Now.
I'm not saying that it worked in the past, but in order for that conditioner to work in the now, you had to put the pieces together in the past. And while you were doing that in the past, the air conditioner was not existing. So the air conditioner in itself, it's a proof of what has been.
No, the air conditioner is a proof of what is always possible, what always was possible. It's a state of the universe, and the all the complexity of human experience, right? From the perspective of the
That's fine, but you're not addressing my point.
What's your point? I'm sorry.
That the air conditioner, when it was constructed, when it was built, that was in the past. So the past exists, and the air conditioner is reminding us that there is a past.
No, the air conditioner doesn't exist because of the past. The air conditioner exists because of the present. If the air conditioner had only worked in the past, it would not be useful to us, such as past magics that people claimed were capable of doing this or that. It may have been true. It may still be true. It may be an inherent truth of the universe. But we cannot access it now, and thus it is considered not knowledge.
Issa, this is not literal. You have to look at this as essentially being, there's an expression, it says, the more you think, the more you speak, the further from the truth you get. So this does deal with words, not literal, not literally. I think you're taking it too literal. You have to look at this as in terms of like a meditational, hypnotherapeutic experience, that when people say, I am in the now, that's beyond words. You're no longer assigning words to everything that exists. You're in kind of a blissful state. And that's like what you described earlier, which is a flow state. So really, all of this philosophical jargon is really to try to suggest that you get into a flow state to be happy.
But then what you're describing sounds very much like how we understand feminine energy, for example. Because the masculine is usually always in the head, it's always thinking, always analyzing, always using the brain. And the feminine energy consists in not doing any of that and just lying in your heart, basically, like connect with the self and just feel and flow, right? And embrace and live. That is what the feminine energy
you know what happens,
is related to.
I know, but you know what happens to a pawn when it crosses the battlefield and gets, to the castle? It becomes a queen. It's the transcendental experience. It is trannies. This is why men dress up as women, because they're, instead of reading a book and, discussing it, they decide to literally do it. That's what I'm warning against, is you.
Because I am overthinking it. So basically, I just should not think about the words.
Yes, stop thinking. Stop thinking.
Stay still and just feel, and that is the now.
Yeah, that's why every conversation gets back to meditation. Stop thinking, end your problems. And if you can't shut up, just do a mantra and just say, I am, I am, I am, I am, I am, I am. And then when you essentially, when you negate your brain from automatically thinking, you are in the eternal now. Yeah. This is like for fun,
Have
really.
you ever watched that South Park episode about the Mormons?
Not in my head. I can't remember anymore.
Dum 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 dum.
Yes. Dum 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 dum.
See, this is what everybody needs on this app. All of these years of Israeli-Palestinian debate rooms have essentially created a massive amount of brain rot for people. So if you can help them come to some type of a meditative therapeutic experience and be in the now, you might actually have a form of coexistence, though it's not likely.
No, it's not. It's not likely. Just because these are people who are anti-civilization.
They're also dealing with the now in a very different formula. They do.
I agree.
They hold by an eternal now, but they deny the existence of the non-Islamic now.
See, the problem with a jihadist is they think that the blissful state is after they commit the terrorism, as opposed to being now. And that is the biggest formulaic, problem with a Muslim, is that if you are a Kabbalist or a Christian Kabbalist, the Garden of Eden is now. It's not after death. And that's what the earth is. It is the Garden of Eden. And unfortunately, we have all been hypnotized out of believing that we're in the garden now. And this is why their formula will always lead to disaster, because they believe in a future life in heaven as opposed to now. And thus we have the conflict now.
Every time we have this conversation comes up, I always think about that scene in Spaceballs where they're like watching the movie as it's happening.
Right.
And they're like, what's happened to then? You missed it. When? Just now. When will then be now? Soon.
Yeah, I mean, Mel Brooks is a genius, In that scene with Dracula Dead and Loving It, he says to Dracula, "Fushta," meaning he wants to get the last word in on the conversation, for whatever reason, satisfy his ego, I suppose. But that term "fushta" is a Yiddish term from a Jewish folklore where the witches come down and they say the magic word to dispel the devil and save, the Jew who sold his soul's life. It's fushta. I don't know. There's like an inversion of it as well. I think in Japan, like the Zero fighters or the kamikaze fighters. Like it's just basically, I think MK Ultra, where you can actually convince someone to become a lethal weapon for the sake of the state by essentially utilizing this type of concept, and it can be very dangerous, or it can be very blissful and releasing. But it's definitely it is like polarity to the extremes.
It's mostly both. It is blissful and dangerous for the people outside. It's mostly like cult techniques. You can just like force people and socially condition them and have warriors, or you can be like smarter, longer term planning about it, seed it into the religion, into the politics, into the racism and prejudices. You can do it a dozen ways. America has a more like capitalistic bent towards their army. And originally, they didn't really want an army. A very complicated history for their military. But I think it kept more in check. Because part of the wisdom of the enlightened American project is that because it started fresh and on basic values and wrote down all of the laws and kept it into the power of the living, breathing people, it changes slowly. It shaves away. Like Trump right now is doing a big overhaul, but like we're due. We have been bloated a lot. And it's a similar kind of thing. Like America has that capacity to rein itself in and tweak itself when things aren't working.
You know what you do when you're bloated? You go to the gym, fatty.
Yeah, that's the American way.
I think it's kind of funny how this is like heretical, essentially. You could go into any Christian or Muslim room right now, and they would vehemently disagree with this concept or sentiment, and they would thus get nowhere in terms of progression. But doesn't the now essentially deal with ego death, where, like that joke where I'll have one with everything from the hot dog stand, but the concept of ego is Freudian, and thus you can't touch, taste, smell, or feel an ego. It's so conceptual, it does not exist. So how can an ego have a death?
by awareness.
So what are other terms for awareness? Mindfulness. What are other terms?
No, I'd actually
Consciousness.
I'd literally get more granular with it. I'd say literally think about what you are. Think about the toenails. Think about the hair. Think about the portion that you consider important but exists in an abstract space of electrical signals being fired across some gray matter at the top of your head.
I get it.
What I'm saying is the ego death isn't like that's where I sort of disagree with the Buddhists. I don't think that the ego ever dies. I think that's kind of crazy. I think it's also wrong. But I think the ego does need to be put in its fucking place in terms of like the orders of existence we have considered relevant here, right? The meaty flesh seems to be more relevant, even though we don't care about that as much as the books we produced.
Wait,
Yeah,
say that.
I don't think ego death means like sort of what Michael's saying, putting in its proper place. And when I think about it from like the psychedelic angle, people talk about ego death. That's not the elimination of the self. It's the elimination of the self qua self as the center. But it's not the elimination of sort of a self-image. It just recontextualizes it into some larger matrix of meaning in which we are only a part and definitely not the center.
Right. But what if you were the center? I mean, not literally, but I mean, still.
You are.
Well, you are the center, but see what you're saying is.
Okay. Think of it in terms of the.
Well, wait. I'm the center. I am the center, but you're the center also. That's the point.
Right.
Right. See, you are the center. You're the absolute, perfect, total, true center of your perspective. But you have to realize that's your perspective, right? That's the ego death. You are the center of the universe, and that means fuck all.
So if somebody is so far left or so far right, when you communicate with them, I believe that they can essentially knock you off of your center. But if you're aware of your center and you're aware of their center, you can bring them back to center.
Yep.
What was the expression?
Oh, it's a poker expression. When someone gets emotionally invested in the game,
I didn't
they
hear.
are on it.
Oh, I heard that. Okay. So, I mean, Jewish, the Torah, the Talmud, aren't these documents ultimately dealing with psychology or
Yes.
game theory or strategy?
100%.
100%. In fact, the rabbis discuss it at some point. They say they divide all of wisdom into two categories: small stuff and big stuff. Davar katan, small stuff, is the Torah, the law. And all of that is small stuff. The big stuff is the creation of the universe, study of physics, and metaphysics. Now, the division they make of the small stuff versus the big stuff is really where the crux of the argument lies. They're saying that all small stuff is stuff that you need to focus on yourself. And that's totally irrelevant. That's tiny. Like, in terms of the portion of the universe, you are one tiny little bit. And then they tell you, what should you focus on more? What should you study more, big stuff or small stuff? They say small stuff. Because you need to understand yourself in order to contextualize the universe, because you will always be the center of your perspective. You'll be the center of the universe. But you are small. There's much more beyond you. That's the delineation between the small stuff and big stuff. And the small stuff is the Torah, the law. We study ourselves so that we can eventually graduate to understanding the universe a little bit.
So from a Christian perspective, I mean, and the Son of God, that type of heliocentric or Platonic, I mean,
all of that is dangerous to investigate if you haven't yet investigated yourself. You will project. You will want the earth to be the center, or the sun to be the center, or for there to be no center. You will project unless you fully remove yourself and are honest with what the universe truly is. You need to know yourself so that you can remove yourself from the equation of seeing what's actually going on.
So how do you, this is why I say, when I think a lot of people are LARPing, because if you look at like a succession or a chain of command, I think it's more likely that the Earth generated the human and the universe generated our solar system. So, I mean, doesn't it ultimately just become meditation and therapeutic and not literal? And if you take it so literal, you're likely to do something terrible like October 7th. I mean, don't you think there is a chain of succession in the universe?
No.
Do you think? Wait, I have a question. Hold on, I have a question. Do you think is LARPing pejorative in your sentence?
No, I think you can go to Comic-Con and have tremendous joy because of the experience is joyful. Like, you're not there for negative reasons, you're there to have fun.
Also, or you could be LARPing to just improve your life.
Right, but if it's not authentic or sincere, there's still a negative aspect to doing a forced experience.
You're correct, and the rabbis discussed this. What you're discussing is another classic divide between lishma and lo lishma. Lishma is performing a commandment for its own sake, not for any ulterior motive at all. And shelo lishma is not for its own sake, for some other reason. And the rabbis explained that obviously, lishma is the ideal. To do the thing simply because of its innate goodness, it is the thing that should be done, and thus you do it. That would be lishma. They also highlight that doesn't happen. Nobody does that. That's like an ultimate tzaddik that isn't even aware of how he moves through the universe and causes good to happen. That's a rare individual.
But you gotta add the next idea from the rabbis, which is
okay. So everything is lo lishma. Usually there's an ulterior motive. You want to impress people. You want recognition. You want some of the benefits that come from being a good person. There are a lot of blessings that come. But the rabbis are very clear about lo lishma. Though everyone is doing the commandments for some reason of an ulterior motive, you never, ever interfere with those ulterior motives. Because it's not really...
Well, because what does it say, Michael, it says, right? Mitoch shelo lishma ba lishma.
Yes.
From out of this ulterior motive behavior, which is inescapable, you can reach a higher plane of doing things for their own sake.
Which, again, is roughly saying habit. Where you're not inclined to do it anymore. And that's why they're talking about habit formation, and they're very clear to never interfere with people's motivations for doing the right thing. If some person makes up some crazy story in their head about, a dead Jew that's saving their sins, and as a result they have to be nice to people, don't stop them from being nice to people.
So I usually ask this guy Nathan, who has this Christian room on here, nice enough guy, everybody's, anyways, the point is, if you understand this psychology or philosophy and you wanted to pragmatically apply it for the benefit of others, why in the world would you continue to go on and on and on about specifics, meaning like they use technical jargon terms to describe this and that? I mean, why not just teach meditation? Meaning that like that's the actual information in practice. So that's what I don't understand about people who keep arguing about dogmatism or, what is the correct interpretation? Like, what is the point of that?
That's part of what I'm saying. They are not engaged in introspection when they are doing that. They are engaged in a lot of introspection for themselves in their own closed little community, but they've labeled everything outside of that as devilry. So they're not, when they are attacking, that is them actualized. They know that they're right. They're in the now, preserving what is right and pure and righteously bringing goodness to the world. That's what they see. But they see that because they only do introspection within a tight community, in a tight formula. They have a closed circuit of how they reach enlightenment alone.
I know, but I'm just saying that the comprehension or the integrative knowledge would tell you not to do that. That you're wasting your time and you're wasting other people's time who need help.
Well, let's think about it this way, right? The Rambam would say something like this. There's two kinds of people. There's the people who
bodies of the law, and this book, and here's my book, that's for them. There's also the people who can attach themselves to the active intellect and do the introspective work. And those people are fewer. Right? There's just like typologies in the world.
And the system is not even though the system is designed to produce the amazing philosopher, genius, prophet that can enlighten us all about the nature of man and the path of the universe, like, it's designed to produce that, but it is designed around a community. It's a family project, and everyone participating assists the greatest to rise up. We are aware that not all of us are Moshe Rabbeinu. We like anoint one guy when we find him if he's got the credentials, and we're very, very picky. But like, we submit to the law, and then out of that we see fulfillment. Right, because the law is creating a framework. The law is an acknowledgement of the communal aspect of people. That you can't just have Stoic philosophy, right? You're just going to be a beggar or a bum, cut off from society. Like Noah, that was his approach when he was surrounded by evil. He just had to be a hermit. But it's not sustainable, as Noah illustrated. He couldn't change the world out as a hermit while everyone's robbing from each other. It needs a community. It needs a family, and it was built on the backbones of Abraham. He fortified the family, built the idea, and then it grew to their exodus from Egypt.
Thanks for that. That's interesting. I like that.
You should read a book called Jewish Meditation. It's by Aryeh Kaplan. I don't know if you've ever read that or encountered Aryeh Kaplan.
Yeah, I have one of his books.
Yeah, he's a genius. Died way too young. But he talks about the central prayer of Jewish practice, the Amida, being a meditative discipline, in its essence, and how to access those kinds of things.
Yeah, I've got that. I've got one of his books. I mean, I like doing, sacred chanting. One time I heard you, Caleb, sing a Nagun. I think you said that your like grandfather sang or something. It was like an ecstatic moment for me when I heard you sing it.
Oh, Nagun. And Caleb's got a great singing voice.
Thank you.
Just because, you hear so much animosity, rage, anger, hate, despair on this app. And, when you hear somebody sing a song, you're like, oh, isn't that beautiful? It's just like, why can't we be like that all the time? That's why I say it seems like so many people here are technically in need of therapy because they're not teaching therapy or they're not discussing therapy. And they're really just, in my opinion, driving themselves and other people crazy. I mean, if every second sentence is the Jews, and you get arrested in a lobby and you're attacking a Jew and then you crumble on the floor crying on your suitcase in your high heels, like, maybe you really did walk 7 miles into Manhattan.
So we're back to talking about
I just had to change the subject because eventually you can exhaust the now and there's like nothing else to speak about. Nothing.
Well, sometimes it is good to let the silence come.
How can you exhaust the now when it's ever...
Exactly. You can never exhaust the now.
You can never exhaust the now.
You can't.
Here's another bit of Jewish wisdom. Ecclesiastes, right? Famously considered somewhat nihilistic literature, purportedly written by King Solomon. In it, he discusses the curse of humanity. The curse that humans have within their head, a riddle that they cannot solve. That is the nature of humanity. That we are constantly looking to solve problems, regardless of how many problems we have already solved. And to put it in like a biological sense, if your body is really just like jazzed on producing you because it gets all these creature comforts from it, your body is loving that you are so worried about how to make it more comfortable. That's your point. That's your existence for it. For the body's sake, it wants you worried, thinking about the then and the future, because that's for the body's sake. But the body's sake doing that because the body wants the net, right? There's a delineation between you and the body. The body wants to use you to benefit its now, and you need to act sort of like contrary to that like raw animalistic urge to go do, you need to like silence it and rest in order to be on the same wavelength with the body, because the body gets to.
I remember when Mike Zed used to do rooms as well, and he would do his silent rooms, and people would just come in the room and didn't know what to do.
I do like the silent rooms; those were fun.
They just started talking, and Mike Zed was just quiet. He wouldn't respond to anyone.
Well, these topics I'm a sucker for. This is why I'm always in the atheist spaces. They're the ones that discuss theology more than anybody else.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what you were saying yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Simon can't go one day without talking about God.
How can you look at the word? How can you look at the word atheist, and then it's essentially the opposite of the theist, but by being the opposite, you're constantly creating God, and it's just so ironic that they can't see it.
Yes, you are creating God by talking about.
Well, no, it's an anti-concept. It's you're saying you are this thing. I mean, you could say you're like I'm an atheist just as much as I'm an a Santa Clausist or an a gremlinist.
You know that being anti-something just reinforces more of what that you're anti, right? Like when people say I am anti-war, why are you not pro-peace? When you say I am anti-war, you're creating more emphasis in war. When you say I am anti-God, you create more emphasis in God. So you're not presenting an alternative to God. You're just wanting to deny God, and that creates more of
That's
God.
exactly my point.
But that creates more of God.
How can that create more of God? How does that logically
because
follow?
you're fighting something, and that something.
I'm not fighting anything. I'm not fighting anything. I'm just saying, if you say this thing and you make that positive claim, I'm just saying I deny that claim.
But, okay, Simon, did you hear what I said?
Yes,
Before?
I think we. Yes.
When you are anti-war, your emphasis is in war. So war becomes still the priority, the focus of the conversation. If you are anti-whatever,
What's the definition of
whatever,
anti?
you create more the conversation around that instead of just opposed to just ignoring it and creating an alternative. For example, being pro-peace, so that your hypnosis, let's say, doesn't focus on war but focus on peace. When you're saying that you're anti-theist or anti-God, then you're creating more of that you're fighting.
Okay, so here I'm pro-objectivism. There you go.
That's clear.
So, I mean, I really like hyper-analyzing language, and maybe you think it's stupid or retarded. You know how I think God is.
I think it's.
Well, it's for fun. I mean, God is go forwards and do backwards. You know, I just think that it's almost like a form of self-reflection where you're looking at these words and you're finding these hidden meanings in them, and you're like, well, these words must have, throughout this progression of time, evolved to these essentially. We're trying to describe concepts using these very simple words, but they're so complex. Like if God is everything. Oh, this is what I wanted to ask. Is Migzed, in terms of that mystery question that many people cannot solve. I mean, I think you could call it the riddle of the Sphinx, but meaning that if you're an atheist, like a devout atheist, God does not exist. Does that just mean you haven't heard the right story to essentially click you from an off to an on?
No. First of all, in terms of the riddle, that was just sort of like the human experience. It wasn't saying whether or not God exists, but I think it could fit in pretty easily. Yeah, the riddle is still there. They're refusing it. That's how they're trying to deny the riddle that exists in everyone's head. How does reality work? What's going on? Right? He's stopping at a particular philosophy, objectivism, and he's being neutral as to the question of God, right? Neutral or dismissive. Either one of those is still acknowledging the riddle. It's saying people wonder, people are confused, is not a consensus, the riddle exists. He's just answering it in his way for now, just like all.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, God, the way people use that concept is like an epistemological error. Like, that's what I really think of God.
Well, I would argue, similar to what Evan's suggesting, that you should be more charitable and like loyal and careful with the origin of words, right? The meaning of the words, the history, how they got there. Like, I don't know if I want to say I'm saying like de is like a special thing that English hit upon. But
One second. I have to get
You know, it's funny you said like that is technically an English innovation, and it's so stupid, but is actually somewhat of a linguistic innovation. See what I'm saying? Meaning that or means nothing, but yet it's still an extremely important word. It's not important. It's important if you know it has no importance. If that makes any sense.
A little bit, yeah. There's similar words like that, like in English from England.
Oh, so this is what I wanted to follow up with. Technically, going back to Simon was addressing, or what you told him, is meaning that if you have this advanced knowledge, if you're an atheist and you're getting so angry and spending all this emotional time on this app, I don't think you get it. Because if you have the wisdom of silence, meaning it's a blissful state of relaxation. So if you are getting so worked up and you're so invested in this, I don't think you get it. And thus, that's why you're here. This is like a simulator for the truth. And people who get so emotionally upset and it just dominates their life, they don't have that knowledge, and thus that's why they're here. They're here playing with that knowledge. But that's why I say it is a complex riddle. So if you can actually pull out a pen and paper and prove to me that God exists, I think there are people that can actually do that, meaning that using words, you can essentially put out an equation saying, this is my equation, why don't we compare your equation? And some people have absolutely no equation. I mean, you could say I am equals I am, or you could say God equals God, or gold equals gold. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, there's simple ways to essentially get one-to-one. But all the people on here who essentially are emotionally out of balance do not seriously get it, in my opinion.
What the hell was that? Keegan, what the hell is going on with your microphone, dude? It's horrible. It's just a noise. It sounds like you got demons in your phone.
That might be the pro-Semite I love Jews inside of him trying to get out.
No, Keegan, it's horrible. You're just it's horrible. Just disconnect your microphone or something.
It's our new anti-Semite blocking technology filter here on Clown House.
It's so sad having found Keegan and getting into his microphone. Careful that it doesn't explode with like Hezbollah.
Do you like my PTR? He said, isn't it very pretty?
Oh, who is that?
Keegan, don't change the topic. We've been talking about balance, stillness, equilibrium, joy, bliss, ecstasy. And Keegan, do you think that if every second sentence is the Jews and you're an anti-Semite, it might reflect on your own consciousness, meaning that you as a man aren't fully integrated?
You know, that's a really good question. I don't believe every second I waste. I mean, I'm not on Clubhouse, every single moment of the day, just while I'm at work. I mean, people don't see me on Clubhouse at night or on the weekends when I spend time with my family, with my children.
But here you are right now. Stick to the question. What did I ask you?
But, it's a good question. I love to pray. I love to do a form of meditation that is prayer, that is reading my Bible. I really enjoy that. I usually do that in the morning. I've been going to the gym 4 times a week the last 2 weeks. We can do that. There's things that you can do that can occupy your body that kind of makes you disconnect from the world.
The other day, when I asked you when did you have this realization that you actually couldn't stand the Jews, and you told about the clubhouse and whatever, and I don't know if but hold on, I don't know if we asked you, but that doesn't matter right now, but I don't know if we asked you, do you have any other people in your immediate surroundings, like your family or your immediate friends, that share these thoughts with you?
So share the sentiment of
about the Jews, that they're convinced that the world is broken because of the Jews.
Yeah, of course.
And is it because you brought it to them?
I think it's more of a collective thought, it's just how the majority of white men, non-Jewish.
Yeah, but collective thought is created. Things come from the source. It's not like all of you, all of a sudden, boom, had the same epiphany one day and started talking about it.
Well, it's like, it's like when, I have a group of men that I meet every morning on Sunday, and we are all married, all have young children, and we talk about life.
No workers?
No workers, we're all married, have young children, and, but someone will make a joke about Jews, right? Whether or not it just comes up naturally, right? And then all of a sudden, we're talking about, the Jews controlling Hollywood or the banking system, and it seems like everyone has the same sentiments. I don't know if, again, like...
Where did you get these friends from? Are they from the church, or did you meet them on Twitter, or are they...
As I just said, these are all Christian guys. Yeah, we all met each other in church. One of them is actually Jewish himself. He was born in a Jewish family, was an Orthodox Jew, and converted to Christianity in his early 20s in college. So he's actually, I would say, have the most anti-Semitic ideas out of anyone.
Keegan, let's keep this conversation flowing. Just explain to us something interesting, or can you maybe explain to us what God means to you? Thank you very little.
What God means to me, God is a deity that has created a complex system, which is what we see here in the universe, and then allowed those complex systems that he did create to then create complex systems as well, as we see around us. So
you mean to tell me something called a DEI created systems of complexity? That's your explanation for a GOD, you fucking idiot?
Some people call that person a trans woman. Some people might call that person Yahweh. I mean, to each his own.
So trans women are God? Is that where the conversation?
Keegan, what I'm trying to tell you is, if you're a smart man, if you're a cultivated man, you don't spend your time attacking 3-letter words. You attack yourself, because every man is his own worst enemy. So you're irascible. You waste a lot of time. Your speech is stupid, and your bigotry or your hatred. What you're doing is you're pushing it outward from yourself. You need to turn it back in and know you're a schmuck.
You're a schmuck, Keegan.
That's not my worst enemy. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't curse. I don't. I'm not my worst enemy. I would say that others around me are more enemies to myself than I am.
I'm just giving you some free observational, wisdom, if it means anything to you, because I don't have anything against you personally. I just think if you, really do believe that Jews are a problem, it's not Jews, it's a you problem. That's always the problem. It's a you problem, because even if you were right, you would technically still be optimizing on yourself. So anybody who goes on and on about some 3-letter word or some other race or some other creed or something, that's not really advanced gameplay. That's like kind of calling yourself an idiot all the time.
Silence is yes. If anybody disagreed with what was said, I'm sure that they would be unmuting immediately, irascibly.
See, you could make it a second argument that you're not just an idiot. What you actually are is a clown, meaning that you're trying to have fun and you think this is the way to have fun by being a clown, but you don't understand at least the hidden aspects of the clown or the troll. So that's why I say what.
Make a new house that's called Unmute Irascibly.
Yeah, I think the audience will be huge.
Sorry, Edmund, I know you were speaking, but I felt the need to unmute irascibly.
No, I mean I've read that book. I have a bunch of Maimonides books.
Maimonides, that was a big slip.
It's true. Maimonides is my mom. I mean, that's the wisdom. Like, until you read Maimonides, I don't know how you can really call yourself a Jew. Just kind of another joke. But anyways, Keegan, I hope you don't take it personally that I tease you and other morons like Pepe and countless other morons. But, for me, this is like my Rodney Dangerfield experience. I'm trying to either roast myself or roast other people. Technically, I have a show now. It's called The Clown House Roast. But it's neither here nor there. The point is you are a participant, and I appreciate it.
Subscribe now, please.
Edmund, John, subscribe. The names that you've taken on this app, I have no problem with you for assessment of myself. But I do like to compare people's lives to my own. I say, as a 26-year-old, what have I accomplished and what has others accomplished when they bring these things to me, even if they hate the sentiment that I bring on the app if I talk about Jews or black people too much. And I realized that no one really compares to me. It's a lot of unhappy, usually unwedded people in their late 30s who don't own any property yelling at me about what I say on Clubhouse when I don't think they've accomplished anything that could even compare to what I bring to the table. That's why
I know, Keegan, but still, this is still an audio game. Like, I don't disagree with you. You can compare, but can you go within, Keegan? That's my point. Can you go within?
Yoga with 25 phones. I don't think that you are even a normal human being.
Keegan, this is like debate club. Keegan, this is debate club, and what?
And so you can't be on Clubhouse. My goal is that you are a mental institution like we used to do. I wish that we would put you back where you belong.
Oh, thank you very little, Keegan. Keegan, the point is...
Ouch! That's, Keegan, it's very rude. You're rude.
No,
Keegan, you may be projecting. Keegan, you may be projecting and you don't even know it.
You're not listening, Keegan.
Heck, he's sick, Zach.
You're not listening, Keegan.
Keegan, you may be sick. You may need to be put in a psych ward. The point is, Keegan, go within and just know the more you think, the more you speak, the further from the truth you're going to get right now. This is a rage quitters room. We're looking for people that we can roast to enrage so much that they quit the app forever.
One day.
I know, I do actually kind of, I don't know, I love Clown House because technically it's free platforming or free storage. It is an amazing app, but the fact that there are no ads here, I mean, based on this Wired article that I read, I believe technically, just like Doge, if we were to look at the back end of this and how they monetize it, I guarantee you it's CRT, BLM, LGBTQ, DEI all the way to the pipeline of that money train. This app could be connected to DARPA or USAID.
CRT, BLM, LGBTQ.
So we've been talking about the now for over an hour and 13 minutes. It's been an exciting morning of revelation. Keegan, I hope you'll watch the replay because you came in at the tail end of the conversation. But I'm sure if you were here throughout the whole thing, we never would have gotten any beautiful points out because you probably would have interrupted and deflected all the time with all kinds of stupid shit. The point is, I encourage you to watch the replay on my multiple YouTube and Instagram so maybe you can get the insight you're looking for. McZed, can you possibly help illuminate us as to the answer to the secret riddle question? Thank you.
The riddle is the answer.
Riddle is the answer.
So, many of you may not know that I'm a world famous actor and I played FDR in the Broadway show Annie. But I just want to let you know that if you look at the word performative, it's performative. So formation is creation. And I don't know why people do unrecorded rooms. I don't know why people don't record what they do here. Because it's mostly performative. Everyone here is technically a Shakespearean thespian, but you don't even know it. Or you do, and what you're doing is performative, which is like LARPing, which should be fun. And if you're not having fun on this app, you are the problem.
To quote the bard, all the world's stage, and the people merely actors.
To quote the bard, life is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying what, McZed?
Everything.
This one? No. Life is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said it was.
Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed my time here on Clown House. I know creating 10,000 videos of it has probably been a waste of my life. But I want to thank all of you for participating in my recordings, knowing that I'm recording you all the time, but yet you continue to talk to me because you are compassionate, sympathetic, loving, beautiful, kind people.
Find a way to make something that you can sell. Can you make a book? Can you make like a book maybe of morons of Clown House, and then you can have like screenshots or something, or maybe make it
No.
auto.
My most successful book I ever created was called SponsorshipSecrets.com, and I sold $150,000 worth of ebooks and CD-ROMs on how to get sponsorships for everything. And that book did very well.
So, come out with a sequel, no?
Well, the point is, Rabbeinu Shalom, Hashem determines your income every year on Yom Kippur and Shemayim, so I don't have to worry about selling books. I just pray to Hashem and Shemayim, and he increases my, my mana.
It sounds like he taught you
Maimonides.
something. He said, publish that book that made money. Again.
I know. You know what's amazing is I went back and I actually looked at what I compiled in this PDF document, and it looks like a third grader wrote it.
Right. So, use ChatGPT. Spruce it up.
I know. It's true. It's the only website I kept.
If you ask existing market, people that already acknowledge this book and would follow it, just keep producing. In this day and age, it's like child's play to produce endless books.
I agree. Yeah, I'm not worried about making an income. But honestly, I am looking to make a baby. At 42, I figure that in itself is work. So if I really wanted to pursue a woman and make a baby and make a family, it takes work. Listen, haven't you read the book?
No.
It's called Job. I've read it many times. And the point about Job is, if you know where you came from, you have no problem. So I don't fear money or Job or job. I know. See, you have your perspective, you have your frame, you have your work, but there's a whole backstory to me that you don't know about. There's a whole compression of the past in the now that essentially is causing me problems now. And right now, going back to the office to sit in a workstation may not actually be the solution that would be the advanced game player theory version of the now. It's an opinion, but nonetheless, going back on the train every day to go sit at a workstation and be in the now may not be the solution I need to overcome the problems of the past, if that makes any sense.
It also might be.
No, actually, I was thinking about that based on what you said earlier. I was like, you know what, he's probably right, and I'm like, I'm just delaying the inevitable. It's truly what I'm doing.
Hey, listen. Self-awareness is not about fighting the self. It's about knowing the self. You're fighting it, what you know that you should do, and you're doing whatever else you shouldn't be doing because you don't want to get to the thing you know you should do.
Yeah.
Look at my man Matt Bruda.
Slow down. You don't have to fight yourself and force yourself to do the thing you do. You simply need to be aware of the fact that you already know what you should be doing and that you just aren't ready to do it yet. That's the truth of you right now. Don't fight it. Don't hide from it. Just be aware you're not ready yet, but you know what you should do.
You know, I love that, and I thank you for that. And can I just add, do you agree that that is also a projection?
No, I don't think so.
See, there's a double-edged sword about projection that I don't think people are aware of or have the mindfulness to know. And I'm not trying to one-up you or to try to reverse what you just said, because I agree with you. I think everything you just said was like 100% accurate. But again, the thing about projection is just speaking is projection. So you did project, whether you like it or not. There has to be something in what you just said which applies to self. Don't you agree?
Are you familiar with the concept, the psychological concept called noise in therapeutic practice?
No.
Okay. Noise happens when a patient, someone undergoing psychiatric treatment, attaches emotionally, psychologically to the therapist. And they believe that the therapist is revealing deep truths about their identity to the person receiving the therapy. The reason they believe this is because the therapist, if engaging in therapy properly, is mirroring that person. The person feels like it's a real person, just like when you look at a mirror, but in like a more substantial way. They're responding to the abstract thoughts, the things that the mirror can't express. And the therapist is mirroring exactly what the patient is saying and doing with maybe a touch of judgment, but they're mostly just directing the patient to notice themselves, right? It's about awareness. So you believing that I am projecting when I am characterizing what you are describing as your state, right? It might not help. It might not be the best idea. There's a whole bunch of reasons you don't know one thing or the other. I said, I don't even know what the truth is. I don't know what you should do, but I do know that you know what you should do. That's how I reflected you. I'm not really saying anything about me. I'm just
I agree. I think I'm just trying to, maybe I'm just being facetious, but...
That's called it noise. They call it noise because it's disruptive. It's I think, a bit of a defensive mechanism to like not engage with the therapy, which is really about the person undergoing the therapy, not the therapist, ever.
Well, here it comes.
Isn't it funny how it's called the therapist, but it's actually like the rapist?
No, I mean, listen, I'm going to meet with a friend of mine who's Jewish that I met at Chabad for lunch in about an hour, and his therapist is gay. And I'm like, bro, do you really think you should be talking to a gay person, like every single week? Like, doesn't that make you gay? Like, if somebody is a gay psychiatrist and they give you Adderall and they are gay and you've had bisexual experiences or you're bi-curious or, it's like, don't you think maybe that person like is a bad? No, I have a friend. I won't mention his name.
If he's not curious at all about the homosexuality, right? If it's not of interest to him, then from his perspective, the guy might as well be married or a woman that's taken. Right? If he sees the person as not a sexual object, then he can disregard that. And the therapy is really just a machine. It's a technique computers probably could do it better if humans could like relate to them properly. Like it properly done. That's why like Freud did it. Like tried to remove himself as much as possible from the equation. That was like part of his.
The problem is not everybody has access to you, meaning that you're like a mentat, and there are people like you who are essentially normal. Oh, I was laughing.
I just studied psychology.
No, I get it, but why would you take advice from a faggot?
Why not?
Because he sucks dick, and he puts dick in his ass, and he puts his dick in other people's asses, and he's gay. So he might be attracted to you as a patient, and why would you want a faggot giving you advice who's attracted to you and wants to fuck your ass? That doesn't make any sense.
More about
He's not wrong. He's not wrong.
No, the point
I fell asleep for a little bit listening to you guys, and you just scared me. You're near.
I love your voice, dude. Right now, you're so
You scared Issa out of her slumber by yelling about faggots fucking your ass.
I think, well, that's what I say in every room. It's my welcome.
What, faggot fucking
I say,
ass?
what's up, faggot?
Oh.
And there's always going to be one person that's always like,
That's like me, because I always say, what's up, niggas?
Why are you yelling faggot? What up?
Because faggot, honestly, faggot is my favorite word, probably.
What about
we
nigga?
Say it as like, you know, like, we used to say it to like our friends. They were being weirdos, or like,
I know, they were being
stop
a
being a
faggot.
faggot. Yeah, they're being a fucking faggot.
Right, exactly.
The South Park like thing where they
Well, but
explain,
this
like,
is the eternal
okay.
debate, and that Edmund and I engage in, which is our favorite word, is the most exciting word in the English language. Is it the N word or is it the F word? And really, if you can do it both, if you can do F word, N word at the same time, that is really,
Finger nugget?
and yeah.
See, this conversation should be put into context with regards to what we were talking about earlier, which is words. I mean, if I say water, you don't get wet. So if I say N word or F word, do you get emotionally destabilized? That's the power of those two words. They're the most subversive words in the English language, my fellow F word, N words.
Wouldn't you say that, like, naturally, because of the proper context, when I say love or hate, there is an emotional reaction to those sounds I just made?
Yes, that is the interesting thing about words. I mean, you can enhance the, emotional reaction to the word even further, but I agree with you that there is an emotional dynamic to words, which if you're aware of, you won't let F word or N word gaslight you into a reactive state. You might want to know what the context is of the whole conversation as opposed to just a small segment of it. So that's why I create a lot of recordings, because the whole thing is technically a large equation or mantra. And we're trying to figure out through research and observation why. No, we're looking into communication and hypnosis and regulating responses, emotions, almost what you could call subversive mind control. Meaning that the future of warfare most likely is linguistic. Meaning that people are so glued to their phones that you'll be able to win wars just through communication, whether it's subversive or direct. I'm just saying there's a lot of forms of communication or propaganda. So if you can figure out a way to essentially create peace and equilibrium through silence or through wisdom, maybe it's possible all these F words and N words throughout the planet that love to keep killing each other perpetually, we could create a state of equilibrium on the planet.
See, I feel like your statement isn't over until you get back to the N word. My intuition.
It's a good capstone.
I'm using F word and N word as a demonstration, not because I believe in bigotry or hatred. I'm merely trying to point out the power of words in the same way that you just did with the word love and hate, that there's an automatic response to the words based on all these years of preconditioning. We have to get past words and get back to the nothing, which used words to create the everything, if that makes any sense. Thank you for listening. God bless you all.
You said a lot about the power of the N-word, and then I, very coyly, responded with very few words and the statement, the N-word, to illustrate the power of the N-word, that merely referencing the N-word is a big enough emotional hit that it responds to as many words as you want to try to hypnotize people with.
You sound so retarded calling it. You sound so retarded calling it the N-word. I mean, don't you realize that when you say N-word, they understand you're actually on the same.
That's a second level to the game. That is part of the fun as well, because it becomes the song that never ends. People won't stop talking about the N-word.
You are like that. You are stupid or you are an S-word. But if I call you an S-word, you know that what I mean is the word stupid. So
I do not know
what's the
that.
difference?
If you say the S word, I would say.
Skibbity toilet.
No.
What is different when I communicate with someone directly versus through illusion?
So Zach and Macbeth. Zach, I know sometimes you
I just think it's very
so
stupid. And
the
it is
N-word.
Okay,
hypnosis.
Let white women speak.
The last time you told someone that you were going into a room
Hello?
to defecate.
Hello?
The last time you
Hello, this on?
Hello?
Hold on.
the last
The
time you
last
told
time you went to a room, what?
And wait your turn.
Okay,
Yes, white woman.
Keep waiting.
the last time.
What?
The last time that you told someone that you were going into a room to defecate, you did not tell them I was going to shit. You did not tell them I was going to execute my bowels. You told them I was going to the loo, the bathroom, the restroom. Allusions to what you were actually doing.
Look, let Anne speak. This is
Allowed to. So what I found is actually, so this one we're talking about the N-word. Every room wants to talk about race and the N-word, and they want so badly for people of, my skin tone, whatever that means, to say the N-word.
Here we go again with the racial identity politics.
Hello? So we know that you want to say it, just say it. And it's like, they want you to say it so bad, but they say it to each other. They'll say, what's up, my blah, blah, blah. And
Anne loves to be bashed by black people.
no, so I say in my rooms,
I would watch.
Did you say smashed or bashed?
Yeah, I would watch a video
of
of
it.
it.
You guys
I don't like to like to be smashed.
Let me
Let her talk.
I'm actually gonna land my plane, not craft like the other plane. So essentially, if you say that you cannot say the N-word in your room, they're like, wait, you can't say that. We're allowed to say it to each other. You're just not allowed to say it. You do not allow it to be even said, and that's how we get rid of it. The only reason why it still exists is because people still allow that rhetoric to talk.
And you're like a girl in a high school hallway at a locker or something,
Yeah.
talking to her best friend.
I was pretty fucking.
And you're like a high school girl getting bashed by N-words in the locker room. I mean.
Oh my God, I'm gonna go jump off a cliff just because of it.
And you may have not heard the full conversation, but we've been going deep into the soul, into the meaning of existence itself. So the whole N-word component of this conversation is essentially really about emotions and how words impact our emotions. And this app being such a sticky app, do you think that maybe you've never read a book, in the past 20 years?
I read the Bible every day.
Okay, since you read the Bible every day, I challenge you. Just tell us one sentence of something interesting or profound that you have recently read. Something from the Bible that really stays with you in your heart and mind. What is your favorite passage, Dr. Ann?
Well, that's personal.
Okay, everybody, I've proven my point. This woman can't even recite one fucking sentence from the favorite book that she reads every single day. I leave you all with Dr. Ann.
Okay, guess what? And you've never even opened up the Bible. So why would I even say this to you when you don't even believe in God?
What? Edmund doesn't believe in God?
You've never even opened up a Bible.
Hello.
Every day. He reads Bible
idea from
Well,
us.
Man, I've read the Bible on this app many times.
In the weekly portion readings that the Jews do of the Torah, they recently read the portions of the receiving of the Ten Commandments. The father-in-law of Moses, Jethro, coming up with the crazy scheme to produce a Supreme Court of 70 elders.
I'll tell you all you need.
Then this week's portion, or this past week, was Mishpatim, which had a whole bunch of laws. Starts with slavery, moves on to like damages. There's like forbidden relations, I think might be in there. Just a whole bunch of laws, like really, like way too many, way more than
All that you need, and this is easy. The answer is John Cougar, John Deere.
Why are you ignoring what Zach is saying?
He was just listing what he was reading in shul. How am I going to react to that?
Do you have a favorite passage?
I did. It was in the country song, John 3:16.
Here's my favorite. My favorite passage is when Aaron and Miriam are gossiping about Moses, about his wife or something. And then they offhand say, Moses, he isn't so great. We're prophets also. We also talk to God. Then God comes down to huff and a puff, big pillar of flame, I think, at the 10th meeting. He says, everyone, come to the 10th meeting. All three of them, right? And they're all siblings. So Moses, Aaron, and Miriam are all standing at the 10th meeting before a pillar of fire. And the pillar of fire says,
Roast.
listen up, you three. When I reveal myself to a person, a prophet, it's in riddles and dreams. He uses that language. It's cool language, riddles and dreams. When I speak to Moses, my trusted, humble servant, face to face. And then he walks up, he leaves, the column of flame goes back into the heavens, and Miriam is stricken with leprosy. And Aaron, who was listening to the gossip, right, he sits there and he feels responsible, and he does a prayer to Moses. Or God, he asks Moses to help. I think it was God. Either way, he says, he feels like a woman who has given birth to a stillborn, because he sees that his sister is leprosy or whatever, and he was the cause of it. So to describe himself, he says he's like a mother that gave birth to a stillborn and now sees the baby she wants to love, and it's covered in death. And he begs that the punishment be removed. And that's the source for Moses' prophecy being superior to all others, and a very weird idea that prophecy is something akin to riddles and dreams.
You see how easy that was, Anne? I mean, it was not too personal at all.
No, I know, but I mean, just for Edmund to ask that, it was just very bizarre, because he doesn't really...
And just try to listen to what Migzad said and be here now. Try to respond to what Migzad said, because honestly, Anne, Migzad is a learned person. He spent many years reading books. You, on the other hand, I hate to tell you, you are in need of Migzad. You need Migzad, Anne. Just admit it.
Oh, I do. Migzad, do I give you flowers every day when I see you come into a room? I think very highly of Migzad. I learn a lot from Migzad. I don't learn anything from you.
Thank you, Anne. You can stop. I'm blushing.
You're blushing. Not the words make me blush. Beta baby boy. Evan, so what's your favorite scripture in the Bible?
Believe, and you shall have eternal life.
Believe. Okay. That's very, very profound. So on another note, in a half an hour, I am going to my daughter's school because they are teaching about going through puberty, and I'm going to see how this goes. I'm worried about this. I know that we learned it in school, but Like, we didn't learn it in 5th grade. We learned it, like, in 8th grade. I don't know.
I think I learned it in 5th grade.
You did?
I remember because I was in Utah, and I was only in Utah from 3rd grade until 6th grade. So it was either 5th or 6th grade that I got it. They taught us how to put a dildo in our ass and everything. Yeah, like in case you want to stimulate your anus, you can put a dildo in, you know.
Well, because I initially, like, we had to sign, like, you know, if we allowed our kids to watch it or not, and I initially, like, turned in the paperwork and said no. But then, like, they said the parents would be there, and I was like, okay, then yeah. But, like, I don't think our parents didn't even question or anything.
Why would you let some LGBTQ, DEI, CRT, BLM teacher hypnotize your child about her sexual preferences? Are you that fucking stupid?
No, well, so the teacher did send the video that's going to be shown to the kids, so I already watched it. And it's actually, it's not bad at all. It's called Changing.
You love the Bible so much, why don't you tell your kid to open the Bible and write you a book report?
My daughter is definitely reading the Bible every day. She puts me to shame. So.
Really? You should have her write you a book report instead of some ChatGPT response. You ever hear this thing, people read and write essays? I don't know, I spent maybe my whole fucking life doing it at this point.
I have ChatGPT on my phone, so you're cute. Neither does my kid.
Neither.
Amazing. Look at that.
Yeah, in that context, you wouldn't say, either does my kid. You would say, neither does my kid. If we're talking about either one of your kids, then you could say, either this kid or that kid. But you wouldn't say, you know, neither one of the, well, anyway.
Got it.
What we're trying to say is we've got compassion for you. We've got love for you. We've got kindness for you. Because, Anne, we want the best for you and your family. We want the best for America.
You do? That's great. I appreciate that. I wish the best for you, too.
But you've just got to stop with the Jew hate and come to a rationalization that it's a you problem, not the Jew problem.
I love the Jews. They're my cousins.
See, that even has a little sting at it, because you're a white woman living in Detroit, and you hate the Jews. Thus, there's something about yourself that's not fully integrated.
If you think that I don't live in Detroit. Absolutely not.
You got me fucked up.
Yeah, what? And I'm not white, okay?
I'm Lebanese.
And I love the Jews.
I love Jews.
You're a blonde woman with a MAGA hat on, and you think that we're not going to call you white? You're a racial identity politician and a J-word hater. You're a low IQ dingbat that can't even recite one sentence from the Bible. You know nothing.
You're right. I don't know. You're right. And what's next?
Nothing. This is the roast show. You're in my other room. It's called Low IQ Dumb People Talking About Nothing, Wasting Time, Roasting.
Are you roasting me?
Yeah, that's all I do here now. Every J-word hater that I encounter, I put them immediately on the barbecue, and I make some barbecue chicken out of them.
Well, that's something that sounds a little anti-Semitic. When have I ever said anything that was anything remote to Jew hatred?
And you said you don't identify as white. What do you identify as?
I identify as one of God's children. I identify as a father. I identify as American. How about you?
Well, I'm an Ashkenazi Jew. But, like your ethnic background, like Swedish, Scandinavian, Lebanese?
She's a Lebanite.
Maronite Catholic.
That's cool. How long was your family in Lebanon?
Well, so my family moved here. My grandma and grandfather moved here in 1932.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
From where?
Well, back when they called it the Syrian Republic, because it was all one region, essentially Lebanon and Syria were one.
Right.
But Beirut.
Lebanon.
No,
military in America?
Yes. And
Oh, that's cool. Which war? Where did he serve?
I have that. Hold on. Okay, so that's ancestry.com is the way. So it says U.S. World War II draft registration record for, and he says birthday, president. Okay, so it just says, so all I know is U.S. World War II draft. That's all I know. I don't know.
So he left Lebanon and got drafted into the war to assist, maybe with like Americans.
Well, and I'm wondering if that's how they gained citizenship. Because I never did ask my grandmother that. You know how if you get in the military,
Grandfather's brother did a similar thing. My grandfather was born in Germany. He and his family fled, got dispersed as the Nazis were rising to power. And his brother served in the army to go back to Germany because they needed people that spoke German and English and that were not in favor of Nazi Germany. So, but he didn't survive his experience. He survived the war, but he came back, PTSD and stuff.
But, I know that they can gain citizenship by joining the military here. I don't know if it was like that back then too, but essentially that's what I'm thinking. I could be wrong. My grandfather passed away when I was really young. He passed away at a really young age, and my grandmother didn't pass away until she was 96. So I know I had a relationship with my grandma, but she never wanted to talk about anything of her time in the Middle East at all. She didn't teach English, didn't teach Arabic.
And I want to get us back to center and where this room began, because the point is equilibrium, balance, stillness, joy, happiness. And what we're trying to create for you, Anne, is maybe synthetic, but what we're trying to really do is make you happy again by helping you solve the secret mystery riddle. Mixed, please tell Anne the quick and simple answer to this amazing secret mystery riddle. Thank you, Dr. Mixed.
You can skip to the last line, or second to last line from Ecclesiastes, where they say, the summary of the matter is this, obey God's law and do right by each other while you're alive. Something to that effect.
Wait, can you say that again, Mixed?
It's like the last verse in Ecclesiastes. Let's see. That's the last chapter. 10. Yeah, 12. Alright, so at the end of that, it says at the end, now all has been heard, here's the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil. That was the sum of the matter. I mean, it's a good book, you should read it, but, if you want the answer, he leaves it right there at the end. And, the verses right before that say, the words of the wise are like goads, their collected sayings like firmly embedded nails given by one shepherd. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. 12. Be warned, my son, of anything in addition to them. Of making many books there is no end, and much study wearies the body. Right? He says at the end of his study, don't study too much, books are stupid.
I've asked lawyers, Jewish lawyers, I've asked Jewish, I'm excited, can you hear me? I was going to ask you a question. Do you find any correlation between what you do in terms of the debt analysis or the debt communication and the layover or parallel of having all this, men taught Talmud Chacham knowledge?
little bit, but not really. Like, that's just what I do for money.
No, meaning that the people who fall into debt are the ones that aren't making the really intelligent business decisions and maneuvers. So don't you detect almost like a lack of awareness, especially amongst people who, are leading organizations, or is that just like at a non-personal level? Like, I mean, how do you view?
No, you're looking at the wrong aspect of my job. Like, it's not about counseling the debtors. It's
No, obviously. I mean, but I'm saying, can't you view them personally and say, okay, this is probably, like, what's the secret shortcoming on why they're even dealing with it?
Here's where my secret, amazing understanding of humanity allows me to understand what I'm doing. What the creditors are always arguing is that I have a piece of paper and you owe me a lot of money. And the truth is, all they really have is a piece of paper. That's the reality. And they have to come to terms with that reality, that they have a piece of paper. And they could demand and yell and try to argue that it means they are entitled to ABC, XYZ, the moon, and beyond. And I will explain to them every single time that that is not what is true. What is true is they have a piece of paper.
Yeah.
So, that's part of defense work.
Are you, how do I say, like a conflict lawyer or the ones that go to trial?
Well, I did have an impromptu trial today, but I wasn't prepared for that. It wasn't a trial, it was just a statement.
But how do they call these type of lawyers?
Trial lawyers? Trial
No, I don't know, but it's another word.
Arbitrator?
Mediators, yes. Simon, come up! Jesus Christ, Simon is really retarded.
Mixed, I got one more interesting question for you. Have you ever looked into the historical legacy of lawyers throughout the thousands of years, or what were lawyers like in the 1400s, 1500s, 1600s, 1700s? Because there's a progression of information and practice, but obviously it's all compressed now, but it is so extensive. I mean, I guess Western judicial history, but all the other, I'm just saying, I guess, you are essentially an extension of every lawyer who has ever lived. Now, if you, even had more knowledge, but, I mean, have you ever pondered that?
Not as much as I'd like to. Probably will look into different lawyers from different ages more later. Mostly I focus, part of law is being familiar with the region. My region is New York. I know New York well. I'm licensed in New York. I'm supposed to know. I know a bit of their legal heritage. But again, not as much as I'd like.
I mean, I have a book on the Common Council from New York in 1850. It's like $1,000 rare book. And it's an instruction manual for the city and for the council and, for the leaders of that city. So, I mean, we have these mega cities and these massive bureaucracies or governments which are never going to dissolve. So how do we, if we're so far into debt at the municipal level, I mean, what kind of restructuring or changes are needed, and what are the common sense approaches?
I mean, the natural consequence would be an inflation of power at either the federal government or the Federal Reserve level. Because
I think the Cato Institute has an entire catalog on if we wanted to make the government efficient again, this is where you start. A through Z, basically.
That's amazing.
See, the whole thing comes down to state constitutional conventions and getting rid of these pensions, these unassumed liabilities that are going to plague the next 30 years. We've got to get at the state constitutional level and the prohibition of taxpayers being on the hook for these pensions, because essentially it's austerity, and we have to do it legally through the state constitutional convention.
I actually haven't done it. Do you read one?
Are you asking me or Edmund? I don't know.
I don't. you, Simon? I know you read the Bible every day.
And I have to ask, do you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior?
Yes, just like you do too, sir.
Oh no, the argument's gone. I don't know how to argue when someone says yes. Oh no.
You could ask them what they think the Trinity is. Then you'll probably walk away thinking you're both heretics.
I don't know if that was supposed to be pun intended. I don't know. I think there's only like a few like factions of Christianity that believe in the Trinity, not all of them. Bible. Like that, you guys believe in the Trinity, not as like Jesus, but like essentially you get the gist of what we think the Trinity is and how we like.
That's right.
You know what the Trinity really is, Anne? It's the word try. It's the word try. It's not as in mathematics, but try. Try something new. Try something now. Try. And the problem is, a lot of people rage quit. And I myself am guilty of rage quitting, in the real world. And not just on this app. On this app, it's immaterial. In the real world, it has financial consequences. So the problem technically is most people on this app are rage road drivers. They're doing road rage all the time on this app. And they're really not gaining any knowledge or wisdom or any type of refinement to the next level. And, I just believe that it's a unique opportunity to help people.
All communication is hypnosis.
Essentially, yes. And so it depends on what you're saying and what you're listening to. It's important to be selective, to be discerning, to be discriminating in terms of what you're listening to. It's an opinion.
All I'm going to say is that to the title of the room, Randy's a rage quitter. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so, in answer to your question, I would say that the concept itself of having three different lenses to apply in consideration of God is not a crazy notion. I would say pretty firmly adding Father and Son into that list is a pretty clear anthropomorphic failure. Like that's a projection of a human to want it to be a father and a son, and that's got a whole bunch of baggage. I would say that the Jews have something similar, but it doesn't have any like human corollaries. Each one is an abstract concept. But in their like Sphirot in the Kabbalah, the 10 different like aspects of God, each one, if you look at it within its own
Sephiroth or whatever.
Sphirot. But each one, I think like sort of philosophically, the way to think of each one is a different theological landscape of God discussion, right? What if we think of God as the Ein Sof, nothing at all, or the Sod, the foundation of all, or Keturah, the Gvura, the Malchus he has over everything that was created, right? Each one is a truth about God, but a different framework to discuss it. So I'm okay with that as a concept. I haven't studied Kabbalah, so I'm talking a little bit out my ass, but I do understand the notion of like, you can have three different lenses to consider the same notion. But I would think pretty firmly, if you're putting like animals or humans into those lenses, you're really missing the point about idolatry.
But even the Sephiroth have got a masculine and a feminine energy, and you have the one, I don't know if it's the right side or the left. I think the left side is representing all the maternal stuff on the feminine side, and the ones in a row on the right side, those are representing the father. And I don't know if that's what you're referring to.
No. Father and son would be anthropomorphic. Female and male is not strictly anthropomorphic when it comes to the Hebrew language. As you know, everything has to be gendered. So it's male or female. God is just gendered male. And some of the names of God, some of the prisms of consideration about the true singular idea, the one true God, some of those notions have words that are literally feminine.
Hold on. Mitzel, what about the Shekinah, the Shekhinah? What's the Shekhinah?
Are you imitating me?
I have heard in Kabbalah there is something called the Shekhinah.
I thought you'd have Andrew Meyer. But Mitzel, so you...
Whatever, go on.
you, and all I know is that you guys believe that God comes from the bloodline of David, right?
No.
No,
Okay.
that's not
Well,
that's the
So
Messiah.
I'm asking because like if I ask, like I get a different answer, which I'm sure
Okay.
that you talk to and get different answers from Christians too. So
Okay, I'll try to be clear. The Jews believe in one true creator deity outside of the physical universe that created everything. And that one thing is not physical, has no limits, it's simple, it's perfect, it has absolute knowledge of everything that has ever occurred and will ever occur, and it makes everything that is eternally. That's what it does. And it talks to us sometimes. That's sort of like the Jewish claim. Now, it doesn't become a man. There is a lot of Christian thought that mixes the idea of Christ with God, where Christ comes from anointed, and it means an anointed, like, leader of the Jews, specifically a king that leads them in sovereignty in the land of Israel and rebuilding of the temple in proper worship under the 5 books of Moses. Right? So that's like the Jewish perspective, is that God is never a man. But there is a special man coming. Right? At some point, think of it sort of like simplistically.
Superman!
The Jews really think that God picked them to make sure this story was done and these laws were followed in this land. If they think that. And they know that the way to do that is with a temple, and they have to have a king, and they have to have a Sanhedrin, and all these different things. Then, whenever such a thing is accomplished, necessarily, like legalistically, practically, there would be a king, some leader of all of the Jews. And the anointment process would be the acknowledgement. That day, there'll be a photograph, you'll see it in the Times. That will be the day of the Messiah coming. The argument from Jesus was a complicated argument based on the prophecy of the Messianic era, that the Jews would have total sovereignty in the land of Israel. And it mixed it with this protest movement of a beggar that, led a revolt as Rome was destroying the state, this sort of, burgeoning movement of sort of the beauty in death, the survival of the death. Because the state, the Jews continued after, there was more story to tell. And this story of this child who went against the law and got killed, maybe unjustly, and then the narrative twisting it into a fulfillment of everyone's sins closes off the Jewish narrative. So it is an attempt.
How does it close it off?
Because it ends the prophecy. The prophecy was always that the Jews will have sovereignty in Israel, will have their temple, and will...
But it doesn't end the prophecy, so it becomes a new covenant. It's not
No. It's the same covenant. Think of it this way. Why did the Jews come back the first time? They got kicked out already. After 70 years, they were pushed away and had no claim to it. But they were able to come back without any new miraculous event other than, a bit of the Purim story. Which is to say, the Jews have never, ever considered the contract over. If you read the contract, it says you get kicked out.
No, it's not about the contract being over. It's just that the prophecy was... So the Jews were the chosen people in order to make the prophecy come true. Now, the prophecy came true, God came, and also in Christianity, we understand through the Old Testament that it talks about God coming as in a physical form. It talks about how, I don't know which one it is, but it's one of the prophets that is talking about it, and it's very famous, Isaiah something. And that it talks when it's going to incarnate or be born from this virgin or whatever. We can talk about that later, but it doesn't matter. So the prophecy, the Jews are the chosen people for the prophecy to come true. So they are the servants of God. They're the chosen people to be the servants of God for the prophecy to become true. Now the prophecy has been fulfilled, and when God or Jesus comes as the Messiah, the Son of God, he gives us a new covenant, a new promise. The promise was he was going to come. Now that he's here, he is giving us another promise, and that is that everyone becomes the chosen people by choosing him.
The sun is giving me the light, and it's like 80 degrees Fahrenheit in South Beach today. I gotta get to the beach, everybody. It's real fun. Have a good day. Bye bye. Adios, amigos.
Bye. So Jesus is the new promise, and so in this case, now everyone who chooses Jesus become the chosen people. So the promise extends to everyone.
It's like 80 degrees here in Miami. I gotta go, everybody. Bye.
Right? But it's not that.
Okay.
The other stuff is over. No, it just transforms to a new covenant.
Isa, I understand like the way Christianity works and that it has its own perspective, and I'm not like taking you from it. From the Christian's perspective, yes, that was the end. That was the fulfillment of the prophecy. We are technically in the first epoch of the Messianic age.
Correct.
Which is, in my opinion, like a strange kind of a claim. I don't think that's the best argument.
You're the original movie, we're the sequel.
No, yeah, right. A sequel. Wait, no. To be fair, a sequel that quickly realized it needed to be a trilogy.
A trilogy. But so we need that.
Yeah, because he will come again.
What I mean is this.
Just very quickly, when it comes again, the prophecy now says that there will be no doubt that it is him, that everyone in the world will recognize him as the Messiah. So if we are right, if the Christians are right, even you guys, the Jews, will recognize him as the Messiah, and there will be no doubt about it. And if it's not him, and it's just some random warrior guy that happens to be the Messiah, not the Son of God, we will recognize him too. So we will find out who was right and who was not.
Right.
But
that, Isa, what I'm trying to explain is, practically, whatever complex theology is behind it, your religion and my religion have both put us into the position of waiting for the Messiah to come.
Correct. Yes.
We are quibbling over quantities of Messiahs coming, right? That's the big, amazing debate. And at the moment that the Messianic era begins, which again, I would say, is ruled by the photo finish you see in the New York Times when someone gets anointed, that guy will either be a resurrected Jew from thousands of years ago, or some other guy. And either one will all acknowledge him as the king of the Jews, and that will be the fulfillment of the prophecy.
Oh my God, so you're talking about Trump.
Wait, slow down.
Listen, I'm saying this because people are saying that he was anointed by God.
And slow down. I'm not saying Trump, but Trump's grandchildren are straight up Jews.
Yes.
Could they be? Are they the direct descendants from David?
So wait, what are you saying? The throne is in the United States of America in the White House?
Apparently, maybe after all, the Mormons were not wrong. And actually, Jesus was about to come back in the U.S.
Listen, those children have a mother who came from Donald Trump and converted fully to Orthodox Judaism and is married to a full-blooded born Jew. Those kids are straight up Jews. So I'm not saying that Trump is anointed, but I'm not exactly excluding the possibility that his grandchildren could be anointed.
But they would have to come from straight line from David. Do they?
Well, that would mostly be like laying a charge. Like if Jared Kushner's family does have any kind of attachment, they could, if they want, try to make the argument. If they wanted to get into like deep Israeli politics.
What about her lineage?
But Isa, I'll cut to the chase. Far more likely, the true person that would gain power of leading the Jews in the land of Israel is going to be some rabbi or politician in the land of Israel, speaking Hebrew to the Jews following the Torah, right?
Well, we don't know. Sometimes God works in very miraculous and unexpected ways.
Isa, at any moment, the miraculous temple could drop from the sky and everything would change. But I'm simply saying, if we assume that the path of history will follow through, then the person with power in Israel, following the law to to bring about the prophecy is going to be an Israeli politician or rabbi speaking Hebrew.
Probably, but it doesn't have
Makes you
to.
think that it's not Donald Trump's grandkid.
Because those guys have the army. Like, even if you wanted to be some, like, a renegade force, you have to rise to the rank of Israel. Israel is the apparatus to bring about the Messianic age in one way or the other.
Wait, so is that what about why maybe that's why Trump is wanting to restructure in the Middle East?
Could be.
Seriously. Okay, I had to go in.
I mean, no matter what, Trump has made
I'm just gonna turn this into a conspiracy theory here.
Trump has made very clear within the first month that he wants a lot of feathers in his cap. He is going towards every legitimate conservative policy and get a quick deal fast so that he can work on like bigger projects. And he's doing well. Honestly, I don't know that he could bring peace to the Middle East, but he's the brash, like bold enough guy that would think that he could and would probably make a dent
Right.
at getting somewhere close to peace. And like he's just doing it for the fucking balls of it. Because he can say, I solved the problem. You're welcome.
Oh yeah, I have to go with you. Take this conversation.
See,
And
you guys,
your sex education.
Migzed, why don't you explain to them the difference between Mashiach and a king? I mean, why would you? And then also just meaning the personal psychological, like there's a whole personal element to this, and then a material political element to it. But like, where is the differentiation or the boundaries?
There was a very, very wise rabbi a long time ago who was approached by a non-Jew who was trying to criticize Judaism, and he was told, explain to me the essence of the Torah while I stand on one foot. And that rabbi, very, very wisely, chased him out of the school because of the disrespect showing to like an epoch of literary philosophical development.
Is that what Edmund is doing?
And you would ask anyone to express the truth of it while you stand on one foot. Get out of the school.
You see, stop disrespecting him. Edmund.
Now,
No, I thought the whole thing was like stand on your one foot and then say, treat your neighbor as you want yourself treated. I mean, it's just like the golden rule. What's the point?
We heard the end of the story because I just told you the beginning. The guy then tried it again at the nice rabbi, Beis Hillel. At Rabbi Hillel, when he asked him again, Hillel says, okay, I can take this challenge. And then he says, do not do unto others as you would not do unto, would not have done to you. The rest is commentary. Don't go and study. Those were two different legitimate answers. And I decided to give you one about Torah, respect about the complexity of Torah at this time.
Amazing.
Okay, so I mean, can you again possibly just compress and summarize the secret mystery riddle so everybody here at least can come back to baseline? Thank you.
Okay, the riddle is the struggle of human existence that man's mind grasps for understanding and never gains it. Right? It's sort of the agnostic struggle of man. He has that riddle stuck in his head. The solution to the riddle is that the riddle was there for you to think about it. Riddles aren't there to give you facts. They're there to open up. They're for interpretation. They have alternative answers even. The riddle is the question because that is your state. Like the now is the truth of what you are. You are the search for the riddle.
So you are essentially the answer, or you are the riddle, and the riddle is the answer.
Yeah, it all just kind of circles out you. And then just chill out. Then get back to work.
But that's how I see things. I don't look for answers anymore.
But see, Isa, how can you believe that Jesus Christ is going to come back to the Mount of Olives and create a new world government? I mean, it's you, Isa. The more you think, the more you speak, the further from the truth you're going to get.
That I believe that, but I understand Christianity, and I have been trying to understand Christianity from a philosophical perspective, and as I want to also Judaism, you know, and so trying to put the pieces together of the whole story and the whole context. But I am not a religious person. I am not a believer, you know, in these type of things. I'm sorry. I don't even know if I need to apologize. But yeah, I'm not a religious person. I enjoy reading the
Believe whatever you
Bible,
believe.
but from a philosophical perspective, not necessarily from a
I know I'm being facetious. The point is, this is still all therapy or self-psychology. I mean, I may be gaslighting, but
I love it.
yeah, this is the whole point. This is essentially what I call self-actualization comedy or self-actualization therapy.
And that's right, and it's amazing.
Did Big Zed Rage quit?
Did he leave? Oh God. Yeah, he said he needs to go back to work, I think. Yeah, we've been talking the whole day. About nothing. Well, actually, no, I think that this has been a nice conversation, a nice room. I've liked it.
See, it is a conversation about nothing. But the thing is, by having a conversation about nothing, you're technically talking about everything, which is the all, which is God. This is like Seinfeld. Clown House is like literally Seinfeld in a real-time social audio app. This is an app about, if you want to make it interesting, it's about nothing. Because it's the most universal conversation. If everything is God, then the conversation is interesting. But, you know, if you go into a rage room, you know, and it's a very toxic environment, it's very taxing to the human brain or the listener. So it's much nicer to have a room about God, which is essentially talking about relaxation.
I don't want you to leave, but didn't you say that you were going somewhere?
Yeah, I don't know. My friend hasn't texted me or called me. I don't know if he meant like an early lunch or late lunch, but, you know, I'm sitting here hanging some frames. He might. Who knows? I don't really care what he does. I mean, you know, if he doesn't call me by like 1 o'clock, maybe I'm going to go to the gym because I'm becoming a fatty minute by minute.
And where were you going to go to have lunch?
To the Old Irving Park Brewery for a delicious chicken chop salad and maybe a wonderful beer. Just a small one, not a big one.
And also went to have his sex talk. Her sex talk, sorry, not his sex talk, her sex talk. That is weird. I wouldn't allow my kids to go to this sex class. Especially in this day and age, when they have got this ideology.
I agree. I mean, that's why Anna's a Democrat. She's not a Republican, and she's just, you know, following the popularity of the times in her cool red hat, probably to try to get a husband or a boyfriend, which I think she did. So maybe that was her real objective. But if you're going to let your children essentially do ridiculous, stupid education, and you have the opportunity to opt out, but yet you allow it and permit it, you have to be careful about what your children are listening to. That's the whole point of having children, is to create fences for them, because you know all these horrific pitfalls of communication. And that's why, you know, I hope the room is helpful to some people. So they're more aware of the problem of communication. We don't have too many problems, but the communication problem is a major problem. Nobody is in control of it.
Yeah, that's true.
niggas haven't rage quit yet?
No, we're here and we're queer.
Maybe. You know, Zach, could you maybe read some Tao Te Ching so everybody can know the basis of this room and all rooms, which is the Tao? Thank you very little.
The way that can be named is not the eternal way. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. Naming is the source. What is it? The way that can be named. We'll just chew on that for a minute. I've been hypnotized by Edmund. I've been hypnotized by Edmund from the jump, from day one, to this day. To this day. Alright, the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The unnameable is eternally real. Naming is the origin of all particular things. Free from desire, you realize the mystery. Caught in desire, you see only the manifestations. Yet mystery and manifestations arise from the same source. This source is called darkness. Darkness within darkness, the gateway to all understanding. Zero is the incomprehensible number of truth, everywhere and nowhere. Conceptual nothingness, though more real than real, is beyond the limits of the human mind. Zero and nothingness are full of energy and
Are
intelligence.
you reading from the Tao? Hello?
Hello? Have you ever read the Tao Te Ching? Yeah, I said yes. Have you ever read the Tao Te Ching?
Yeah, I have it, and I read it a couple of years ago. It's a very small book. So let me go through it.
Book.
I have it on my bookshelf. It's a very tiny book. It's like here, the Tao Te Ching. It has just like very short. Oh, I have a mark.
Size doesn't matter.
It does matter.
There's a second G spot at the back.
Mine has.
You know about that, Abraham?
81 verses. Is that all?
Yeah, I thought it was 84, maybe.
I have 81.
Oh, you got the fucking.
And then I have notes. So, for example, the number 81 says, true words aren't eloquent. Eloquent words aren't true. Wise men don't need to prove their point. Men who need to prove their point aren't wise. The master has no possessions. The more he does for others, the happier he is. The more he gives to others, the wealthier he is. The Tao nourishes by not forcing, by not dominating. The master leads. And then there is a commentary about it. It says the master has no possessions. His no possessions may include a house, a car, a computer, a room full of books, and an electric toothbrush. The more he does for others, the happier he is, because he is doing it for himself. The more he gives to others, the wealthier he is. The less he holds on to, the more he can give himself to others. When he can give himself completely, his wealth is infinite. Isn't that beautiful?
Isa, when nothing is done, nothing is left undone.
That's true.
When nothing is done, I did it.
When taxes are too high, people go hungry. When the government is too intrusive, people lose their spirit. Act for the people's benefit. Trust them. Leave them alone. That's beautiful.
Governing a country is like frying a small fish. You spoil it with too much poking.
Without opening your door, you can open your heart to the world. Without looking out your window, you can see the essence of the town. The more you know, the less you understand. The master arrives without leaving, sees the light without looking, and achieves without doing a thing.
To talk little is natural. High winds do not last all morning. Heavy rain does not last all day. Why is this? Heaven and earth. If heaven and earth cannot make things eternal, how is it possible for man? He who follows the way is at one with the way. He who is virtuous experiences virtue. He who loses the way feels lost. Fuck. When you are at one with the Tao welcomes you. When you are at one with virtue, the virtue is always there. When you are at one with Clown House, the Clown House is experienced willingly. He who does not trust Clown House will not be trusted by Clown House. That's your book, Edmund, The Tao of Clown House.
Yeah.
That is a good house title. There should be a house.
The Tao gives birth to one. One gives birth to two. Two gives birth to three. Three gives birth to all things. All things have their back to the female and stand facing the male. When male and female combine, all things achieve harmony. Ordinary men hate solitude, but the master makes use of it, embracing his aloneness, realizing he's one with the whole universe.
God damn, man. You gotta read this every day, basically. You have to read it every day. You have to read it every day.
All of it?
Yeah, I think. Because otherwise you forget.
The reason why it's so important is if you are the riddle that you're secretly trying to solve, this book helps you secretly solve that riddle very easily and quickly. All the talk and all the time spent on this app does not do that, but this book does, in my opinion.
That's right. This one I like. If you want to become whole, let yourself be partial. If you want to become straight, let yourself be gay. If you want to become full, let yourself be empty. If you want to be reborn, let yourself die. If you want to be giving everything, give everything up. The master, by residing in Clubhouse, sets an example for all beings. Because he does not display himself, people can see his light. Because he has nothing to prove, people can trust his words. Because he doesn't know who he is, people recognize themselves in him. Because he has no goal in mind, everything he does succeeds. When the ancient masters said, if you want to be given everything, give everything up, they weren't using empty phrases. Only in being lived by the Tao can you be truly yourself.
Those who recite the Tao on Clown House do not know Tao. Those who know Tao meditate and sit in silence. Those who break the silence on Clown House are like farts, air passing over a turd.
Oh, man. There's one, I can't find it right now. Do you know this one, Edmund? It's like, in pursuit of knowledge, every day something is added.
in pursuit of the Tao, every day something is taken away or removed or uncovered or something. Look, do you want to improve the world? I don't think it can be done. The world is sacred. It can't be improved. If you tamper with it, you'll ruin it. If you treat it like an object, you lose it. There is a time for being ahead, a time for being behind, a time for being in motion, a time for being at rest, a time for being vigorous, a time for being exhausted, a time for being safe, a time for being in danger. The master sees things as they are without trying to control them. She lets them go their own way and resides in the center of the circle.
Fill your bowel to the brim, and it will spill. Keep sharpening your knife, and it will blunt. Chase after money and security, and your heart will never unclench. Care about people's approval, and you will be their prisoner. Do your work, then step back. The only path to serenity.
Do you know it's fill your bowl?
I know, I said the bowel.
Okay, I thought you were on accident.
I was surprised nobody reacted.
I was being gracious to you. I thought it was an English mistake. I thought, oh, she doesn't know this word yet.
Okay, let me read one. This is verse 44. It's called Choices. Which do you value more, your wealth or your wellness? Which is more harmful, to lead or to lose? The greater is your attachment, the more bereft is your release. The more you hoard, the less is left to enjoy. Those on the path to the great integrity flow without forcing, leaving no space for disasters. The commentary is, most people given the opportunity would choose wealth over wellness, winning over losing. They cling desperately and dependently in their close relationships and hoard their possessions. These are choices, says Lao Tzu, that lead to disaster. Our alternative is to flow without forcing, and to release ourselves from our false values and counterproductive behaviors. Like verse 43, it is useful to be reminded of the choices and values that can help to direct us toward the path leading to the great integrity. But to stay the course, people from everywhere need to join us.
My 44 reads different. It's a different one. It says, fame or integrity? Which is more important? Money or happiness? Which is more valuable? Success or failure? Which is more destructive? If you look to others for fulfillment, you will never truly be fulfilled. If your happiness depends on money, you will never be happy with yourself. Be content with what you have. Rejoice in the way things are. When you realize there is nothing lacking, the whole world belongs to you. That is beautiful. Shit, I needed to hear
this
that.
is a hypnosis. This is a neurolinguistic reprogramming. It is. It's a reprogramming. And this is what you have to do daily, in my opinion. It's a daily renewal. Imagine listening to Clown House for 3 years straight. You'll be your brain will essentially be a mosh pit. This is a rectification tool of self-analysis. It's a beautiful tool to use.
When Clubhouse is in harmony with the Tao, the factories make trucks and tractors. No, that doesn't sound. It would be when Clubhouse is in harmony with the Tao, the moths make, I don't know what to say, the rooms make moths, and I don't know. I fucked it up. When a country goes counter to the Tao, warheads are stockpiled outside the cities. This one is not speaking to me right now.
So one way to reset it is just to say, take the deepest breath of the day, hold it for 10 seconds, let it go, and then let the Tao flow.
When a superior man hears of the Tao, When a superior man hears of the Tao, he immediately begins to embody it. When an average man hears of the Tao, he half believes it, half doubts it. When a foolish man hears of the Tao, he laughs out loud. If he didn't laugh, it wouldn't be the Tao. Thus it is said, the path into the light seems dark, the path forward seems to go back, the direct path seems long, true power seems weak, true purity seems tarnished, true steadfastness seems changeable, the greatest art seems unsophisticated, the greatest love seems indifferent, the greatest wisdom seems childish. Like John on Clubhouse. The Tao is nowhere to be found, yet it nourishes and completes all things.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing. This is the thing about the religious debates on Clown House, is that people say, God is this. We were just talking about this the other day. Like, I can't believe how many people talk about the Torah, the Quran, the Bible, and they don't know about the Tao. And all that the Tao says is basically, if you think you're right, you're wrong. You're wrong.
Exactly.
As soon as you think you're right, you're wrong. Because whatever is controlling the universe cannot be named. It cannot be defined. And if it could be defined, it's like it wouldn't be cool. The thing that makes it so cool is that it's this huge energy that our puny human brain can't even fucking comprehend. And that's why the Tao is nice. It uses a lot of natural, the Taoist artists always would like paint a river or paint a mountain, because it's like you can't describe what it is. Look at the river, dummy. That's what it is. Look at the mountain. That's what it is. It doesn't really have any further description.
No, what you're saying is the words aren't as good as the real thing. So, but that's also like saying, be here now. Be here now. Stop with your bullshit debate. Stop with your repetitions and your memory of fucking history hypnosis. No one gives a fuck anymore. Once you know about the Tao and Zen and being in the now, you realize that all these rooms, all these debates that go on for years and years and years, they will continue going on, which is essentially like jerking yourself off forever and never getting smart enough to either automate it or find somebody else to do it for you.
This one is also very nice. If you want to shrink something, you must first allow it to expand. If you want to get rid of something, you must first allow it to flourish. If you want to take something, you must first allow it to be given. This is called the subtle perception of the way things are. The soft overcomes the hard, the slow overcomes the fast. Let your workings remain a mystery. Just show people the results. Is my Tao different than yours?
Yeah, they're all different. Which one is yours?
Tao Te Ching, the Book of the Way, Lao Tzu, translated by Stephen Mitchell.
Right, that's the one that I have. I like that.
Sutherland's.
But Edmund has a different one. He has several. But this is the only one that I have. We have the same one.
But is it, so why are there different?
It's a translation from the Chinese. Do you know how to speak Chinese?
Yeah, but they should at least sound similarly, no?
They are similar, but it's, look, I don't speak Chinese, but I understand they got like one little chicken scratch for a whole sentence. And you add like another line of God, and it changes the whole meaning of the sentence. And so I think if you're looking at the chicken scratch, there's different ways to translate it. But there are multiple translations. Which one do you have, John? What's the one that...
I've got about 5 different versions, but you know what's better than talking about books?
Book.
Reading books.
Yeah, but she's just trying to learn about, how it works.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm just wondering...
If you want to learn how to walk, you gotta put one foot in front of the next. And when you put one foot in front of the next, it's called walking. When you read a book, it's called reading.
It's like a dedication. It says, "Who can find a good woman? She is precious beyond all things. Her husband's heart trusts her completely. She is his best reward." Tao Te Ching, pronounced more or less Tao Te Ching, can be translated as the book of the immanence of the ways of the book of the way of how it manifests itself in the world. Jesus Christ, okay, so it can be translated as the book of the immanence of the way, or the book of the way and of how it manifests itself in the world, or simply the book of the way. Since it's already well known by its Chinese title, I have let that stand. About Lao Tzu, its author, there is practically nothing to be said. He may have been an older contemporary of Confucius and may have held the position of archive keeper in one of the pretty petty kingdoms of the time. But all the information that has come down to us is highly suspect. Even the meaning of his name is uncertain. The most likely interpretation, the old master, or more picturesquely, the old boy. Like an Iroquois woodsman, he left no traces. All he left us is this book, the classic manual on the art of living, written in a style of gem-like lucidity, radiant with humor and grace, and large-heartedness and deep wisdom, one of the wonders of the world. People usually think of Lao Tzu as a hermit, a dropout from society, dwelling serenely in some mountain's hut, unvisited except perhaps by the occasional traveler arriving from a 60s joke to ask, what is the meaning of life? But it's clear from his teachings that he deeply cared about society, if society means the welfare of one's fellow human beings. His book is, among other things, a treatise on the art of government, whether of a country or of a child. Oh my God, I'm reading terribly. What's going on with me? I don't see.
Well, you're reading in a foreign language, which I think is impressive.
No, but I read much better than this. I don't know what's going on with me today. The misperception may arise from his insistence on Wei Wu Wei, literally doing, not doing, which has been seen as passivity. Nothing could be further from the truth. A good athlete can enter a state of body awareness in which the right stroke of the right movement happens by itself, effortlessly without any interference of the conscious will. This is a paradigm for non-action, the purest and most effective form of action. The gameplay is the game. The poem writes the poem. We can't tell the dancer from the dance. Less and less do you need to force things until finally you arrive at non-action. When nothing is done, nothing is left undone. That's what you said before. Nothing is done because the doer has wholeheartedly vanished into the deed. The fuel has been completely transformed into flame. This nothing is in fact everything. It happens when we trust the intelligence of the universe in the same way that an athlete or a dancer trusts the superior intelligence of the body. Hence, Lao Tzu's emphasis on softness. Softness means the opposite of rigidity and is synonymous with suppleness, adaptability, and endurance. Anyone who has seen a Tai Chi or Aikido master doing not doing will know how powerful this softness is. Lao Tzu's central figure is a man or woman whose life is in perfect harmony with the way things are. This is not an idea. It is a reality. I have seen it. The master has mastered nature, not in the sense of conquering it, but of becoming it. In surrendering to the Tao, in giving up all concepts, judgments, and desires, her mind has grown naturally compassionate. She finds deep in her own experience the central truths of the art of living, which are paradoxical only on the surface. That the more truly solitary we are, the more compassionate we can be. The more we let go of what we love, the more present our love becomes. The clearer our insight into what is beyond good and evil, the more we can embody the good, until finally she is able to say in all humility, I am the Tao, the truth, the life. I really like that one last part of it. Shall I finish? It's just a little bit more. The teaching of the Tao Te Ching is moral in the deepest sense. Unencumbered by any concept of sin, the master doesn't see evil as a force to resist, but simply as an opaqueness, a state of self-absorption, which is in disharmony with the universal process, so that, as with a dirty window, the light can shine through. This freedom from moral categories allows him his great compassion for the wicked and selfish. And there are 2 verses. Thus the master is available to all people and doesn't reject anyone. He is ready to use all situations and doesn't waste anything. This is called embodying the light. What is a good man but a bad man's teacher? What is a bad man but a good man's job? If you don't understand this, you will get lost, however intelligent you are. It is the great secret. The reader will notice that in the many passages where Lao Tzu describes the master, I have used the pronoun she, at least as often as he. The Chinese language doesn't make this kind of distinction. In English, we have to choose. But since we are all potentially the master, since the master is essentially us, I felt it would be untrue to present a male archetype as other versions have ironically done. Ironically, because all of the great world religions' teaching of Lao Tzu is by far the most female. Of course, you should feel free throughout the book to substitute he for she or vice versa. This is very welcome. As to method, I work from Paul Scauto's literal version, which provides English equivalents, often very quiet ones, alongside each of the Chinese ideograms. I also consulted dozens of translations into English, German, and French, but the most essential preparation for my work was a 14 years long course of stand training, which brought me face to face with Lao Tzu and his true disciples and hires, the early Chinese Zen masters. And the last paragraph says, with great poetry, the freest translation is sometimes the most faithful. We must try its effect as an English poem, Dr. Johnson said. That is the way to judge of the merit of a translation. I have often been fairly literal, or as literal as one can, with such a subtle kaleidoscopic book as the Tao Te Ching. But I have also prepared, expanded, contracted, interpreted, worked with the text, played with it until it became embodied in a language that felt genuine to me. If I haven't always translated Lao Tzu's words, my intention has always been to translate his mind. Okay, so maybe that's the reason why they sound different, because ultimately everyone gives them its own vibe, right? Did you all fall asleep to my broken English reading?
I'm arguing with my fucking stupid friend about Israel.
Oh, amazing. So I was running into the void.
I was appreciating listening to you. You were reading the beginning. You were reading for yourself.
Yeah, that's true.
Because reading out loud is a good way to learn things.
That's what Edmund says.
Way woo way.
Simon, what are you doing here again? Oh my god, I have 3.9. It increased. $3.9K followers. I want to make it to 4. If you're not following me, people, please give me a follow so I can get to 4K.
Join the house.
Join the fucking house. Is Edmund gone? Yeah, he probably left his phone here recording on. Simon, you missed my crush. Simon!
Who is your crush?
I cannot say. But I have a crush. I have a crush on Clubhouse.
Who doesn't?
I don't think everybody does. I have this one crush on Clubhouse.
Well, I'm here, but I'm working on my stupid.
I don't want it to become another Thomas situation, so I just gotta keep it to myself. Seaman, are you there? Even the audience got bored now, and they left.
Well, there are a lot of other rooms full of low IQ morons wasting time talking about nothing.
Yeah, I know.
Room, chillism.
Yeah, I don't feel like going to any other. Look, we were talking about the Bible, and Will C asks, "What is your favorite character of the Bible?" And Anne responds, "James." Really? Wouldn't you choose Jesus? If someone asks you, "What's your favorite character of the Bible?"
Yeah, right. It's gotta be.
Wouldn't it be the immediate response, Jesus? I mean, like, no thinking.
Well, Jesus is kind of like the Wolverine of the Bible, you know. He's an obvious choice.
Yeah, but that's your favorite character. I mean, but like, no. For me, it was James.
Lesser known, indie hit, sleeper hit, James.
That is Jaime Tuiza. Actually, no. What is James in Spanish in the Bible? John is Juan. James? No, James is. It's not Jaime. I mean, Jaime is the translation from James, but in Spanish, James is not Jaime. It's Oh my God! I have to ask ChatGPT because I don't know who James is in Spanish. ChatGPT, come to me. Ouch. Shit. When talking about the Bible, James in the Spanish translation is who? Santiago. Yeah, it has nothing to do with that. Santiago. That is James.
You don't know?
I'm just watching a video of Gaza.
Oh, Gaza.
No, what they're gonna do with Gaza. How they're gonna turn it in Trump Gaza.
Oh, the Trump Gaza video?
Oh, you have seen it?
I have seen of it. I haven't seen the video.
Yeah, it's all AI, but it's okay. Hello?
Hello.
I
blocked Jazzy.
blocked
Did I tell you
Hello
that?
so much. Huh?
I finally blocked Jazzy
Oh, did you? Why?
because she is mean to me and she hates Jews. She's not very nice to me.
She hates the Jews too?
Yeah, she hates Jews.
I didn't know that side of Jazz.
She's come to hate Jews since the October 7th. She's like a fresh new.
Who has influenced her?
I don't know. Clubhouse, probably TikTok and shit. Seeing all the rubble. All the rubble.
That's right, motherfucker. Kiss my ass.
You miss him.
I do. He's probably the person that has pushed me the absolute most.
To what?
Randy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Randy.
Randy.
What do you mean he's pushed you?
In terms of like trying to get me to articulate my positions.
But that's good.
Him and Diego. Oh yeah, I loved it. I have zero complaints. I have zero complaints.
And I think that you do it well. Sometimes you get a little bit stuck, like I don't know, but
well,
you
I'm
do it
retarded.
very
What
well.
do you expect?
Huh?
I'm a retard. What do you expect?
But for a retard, you're actually very good at it.
Yeah, that's okay. So honestly, when I hear okay, if I'm being honest, when I was in the classes at the Ayn Rand Institute, I felt like a fucking donkey. Like I was like, these people articulate these ideas insanely well. Like I honestly, in my head, I'm thinking if I could articulate these ideas this well, I would legit start a YouTube channel on just this because I know I'd go so far. Like there were some people that are really fucking good. There's this one Israeli kid. He was a bit autistic, but he was fucking really good at explaining the concept.
Yeah, that is one of the things about objectivists, that it teaches you to argue very well with reason.
That's right. It's just because like it tells you to like look at all the other positions. So it's like there's nothing, like there's literally nothing, maybe not literally nothing, but I've heard so many positions: Christo-fascists, Marxists, Marxist-Leninists, Fabians, conservatives, liberals, Democrats, leftists, neo-Nazis. Like I've heard so many positions, and then you have to look at like the principles guiding these things. Then you have to go into religions, Judaism, Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, all this shit.
What is the conclusion?
Well, you have to kind of summarize it into principles, right? So like for example, communism, fascism, socialism all have like the underlying principle of collectivism. Like the idea that the individual doesn't matter, like, you know, your life doesn't matter, it's the collective that is the ultimate.
Individualism is evil because it's selfish.
Collectivism is evil.
No, but
yeah, I see what you're saying. Yes. Individualism is the idea that your life matters is a foreign is foreign and is an evil
Which
concept.
is really the main distinction, right? And they don't actually understand the inversion of these ideas, because when you promote individual rights and you promote individualism, what you're doing is that you're leaving people on their own, and by doing that, you're pushing them into collaboration with others. So people know that they cannot do things on their own, but you're going to push them into a proactive, voluntary collaboration and be more participating in their societies, in their families, because they know they need others in order to succeed.
That's right.
But when you push collectivism, actually what you do is that you disconnect the individual from their personal responsibility and therefore from the surroundings, because you make them so reliant on the state and so reliant on others that they forget that they have an actual responsibility towards the others. They just get all their needs met, and they're not forced into finding their own way. So their muscle doesn't evolve, and so they become disconnected from everything else because everything is given to them.
That's right.
Through collaboration, but given in the end to them. So they are just in receiving mode and not feeling in responsibility mode. So actually it's an inversion. When you promote individualism, you actually do more for society than when you promote collectivism. You disconnect people through collectivism.
And that's just the way people evaluate, like when it comes to helping people, or how, what the role of government should be. So they evaluate, there's a poor person, therefore let's all help this poor person so we can all be lifted up, right? That's the evaluation, how that manifests politically. Now morally, there's a massive disconnect, because these people, their evaluation is always, like Randy said, the other, right? I have to live for my neighbor. So anything, and then how that manifests, how that moral position or evaluation manifests politically is exactly the collectivism that we're talking about.
Yeah. And I do agree that in Christianity there is, in a Christian world is where you find more compatibility with the concepts of with individual rights, etc. But it is not because of Christianity. It is simply that Christianity has allowed, a secular Christian society has allowed for it. But it's also the same with Judaism. The only religion that does not allow for it is Islam.
That's right.
So Randy says that because of Christianity is that we have these values. I don't buy that argument.
Well, it's obviously not through Christianity. It's because of Greece.
Yeah, Christianity is the influence of Greek philosophy.
Plato.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And ultimately, so what we have in the West is a blend of Greek philosophy, Roman law, and Christianity. But Christianity is just like a redefined Greek philosophy.
Nice.
I think.
I don't know. I wouldn't go that far, but honestly, there's a book called I just got the PDF. It's called Creating Christ, and then Creating Christ: How Roman Emperors Invented Christianity.
And if anything, I would say, well, if we're talking about the principles, we would be referring to the Ten Commandments. And that is not coming from Christ, that is coming from Moses. And Moses is Jewish law.
Apparently, I don't know if this is true or not. I have to like ChatGPT this or something. But apparently, there was nothing in the New Testament that wasn't already known throughout the world. So like there was no like new information that wasn't actually relevant at the time.
Yeah, I think that the knowledge or the wisdom, of Christianity comes from Judaism, from the Old Testament. However, what Judaism didn't do for these principles is the expansion of them. I think Christianity played a huge role in expanding or just exporting these principles everywhere around the world. And that to me is the most important contribution of Christianity. The fact that it spread, through the West. And it was, let's say, it was like the DHL of Greek principles. It was the transport of Greek philosophy. And that is something that no other religion has done. Well, Muslims are doing it now, but they're spreading the wrong principles.
You picked the worst shipping company.
Oh, who is
That's
it?
right. What was the
Facts.
Oh my God, Myers there.
Issa was asking about you.
Who?
Issa. Who's that?
I'm in a room. It's called Autistic Objectivism, and I've been live streaming it.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna shut it all down now.
We're like sparring.
I don't know.
Because why does it hurt if you go on for a few hours?
Because none of these are plugged in. Usually I
Oh.
stack them and plug them all in. I would have just let it run, but now I don't want to lose the recording or whatever.